Welcome to the Bard of All Trades podcast. I'm your host, BradElBard, and today I have the magnanimous man, the reasonably sized Incredible Hulk in the building here from Pennsylvania, Jordan Wissinger. And
Thanks for having me.
My honor. It's my honor. I've been friends with Jordan. I remember the first time we met was at a Vietnamese restaurant, and I was like, man, you don't look that strong. You can't be that strong. And then I looked at his Instagram. I'm like, fuck, dude, this guy's pretty strong. But yeah, before we begin, I just want to shout out Sam Diefenbach, one of my Patreon supporters, for introducing us. Additionally, giant shout out to Valley Jiu-Jitsu. If you guys want to try out Jiu-Jitsu in the Allentown area, mention the Bard. You get a week for free to learn how to choke people. Finally, check out in the description. I want you guys to look at my other sponsor, adarklegacy.net. There's some really epic stuff coming on that website. Creative writing, all sorts of really cool stories. So make sure you check that stuff out. What's up, Jordan?
Thanks for having me again.
Yo,
That's gonna
absolutely.
be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a great time. So moments ago, you were like, yo, that's a sweet recurve bow. And I was like, yeah, man, I want to go bow fishing with that. And then you told me about like some Norwegian.
some dark shit.
Yeah.
It was 2 days ago. Some Norwegian dude went and just shot like 5 people with his bow and arrow in
That's
Norway.
crazy, man.
Yeah.
I wonder, like, they don't have guns in Norway, right?
No, man.
So
they
they
can
just
kill people other ways if they want
Damn.
to, you know. 'Cause guns are the problem.
Well, yeah.
We
Well,
can get right into that.
I think, like, if I want to kill a lot of people, guns wouldn't be the best tool. I think a truck full of violent things would be the best thing.
I would think so.
Yeah. Probably cheaper, too, than buying ammo today.
Yeah, at this point.
Yo,
Jesus,
for
you
real.
can't find ammo anywhere.
Yeah, I'll drink to that. Dude, so let's talk a little bit about your lifting situation. So you just gave me a nice, awesome tour of your gym, which we're parked right in front of.
Yeah.
You got a like home gym, got the sauna in there.
Yeah, man.
I definitely want to get like a swole sesh on with you sometime, where you gotta like shit on my form, and then we'll chill in the sauna
Yeah, man.
afterwards.
Sam comes up periodically, so he just came up about a week ago, so
That's
you know, we
awesome.
can always join together and get a good workout in.
Yeah, definitely.
so
He's mentioned it for sure that he comes and trains with you, and I'm
Yeah.
like, damn, I want to try that out.
So the gym setup that we just did, man, that it was just in my single car garage attached to the home, but we had a small platform in there, crappy rack, but some nice barbells and some bumper plates, but it was just
Yeah, the plates seem nice. Like, what's the brand?
Oh, they're just generic.
Oh,
I was
yeah?
looking to maybe get like Rogue or
Yeah,
something, but
I
they're a
know
bit more
Rogue is what
expensive.
people
These are
renown.
just Facebook Marketplace that we found around here, so it
Dude,
worked out real
yeah.
well. But-
What's a good find on Facebook Marketplace? Like $1 a pound is like the going rate for stuff.
I mean, right now it can be more than that.
'Cause of
Ideally,
COVID,
for like
right?
steel plates, you're looking for like 50 cents a pound is ideal, but now
Nice.
it can be more. Rubber bumper plates, you're probably looking for like 75 cents to $1 would be pretty ideal in not COVID times.
Yeah.
But now it can be anywhere from like $1.50 to $2 a pound. But
Damn.
we got a pretty solid deal here around that $1 a pound. Got a few other things with that deal, but yeah. So I decided to convert it over the summer. Decided just to go full force on it. I go to multiple different gyms to train at. My main gym I go to is Garage Strength over in I guess not Leesport. It's I forget exactly what town it's technically considered in. But yeah, I go there. I go to another more public gym down in Reading area. So at some point,
Oh yeah,
I'm like,
you go to what is it? Why I'm missing?
yeah,
Fitness?
why I'm missing fitness. Honestly, I mean, we can talk about that a little bit.
Yeah,
one
definitely.
Of the main reasons
I've
why
never been in there, but I used to be a member at LA Fitness, and I
Okay.
know once they opened, a lot of people that I used to lift with moved to that gym.
Gotcha.
And I was starting jiu-jitsu at that time, so I kind of my lifting journey was kind of going like
Yeah,
deadening
yeah.
at that time, and that's when I was starting jiu-jitsu.
Well, one big thing that I like about lifting in a public gym setting is, there's two main things. When you work out at a specific weightlifting gym, and you could think of the same thing. Now, it'd be a little bit more difficult to go from like jiu-jitsu to, they don't really have anything in a public gym setting for that. So you kind of have to do it in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
But going from like a weightlifting specific gym to like a public gym, there's two main reasons why I like it. One is because there's distraction training. So you'll have people walking in front of you. It's a public gym, so no one really knows what you're doing. They're
Yeah,
not really
especially
expecting
around
you.
January, you got people like fucking walking really
Exactly,
unsafely
yeah.
near you.
I mean, I hit like a personal record on the Snatch at 295 in the spring, and someone literally on the video on my Instagram, literally someone like 10 seconds prior was vacuuming right in front of me. But yeah, the one thing is like distraction training. So weightlifting is a very technical sport. It's not just all brute strength. There's so much technique that goes into it.
Yeah, especially the Olympic end of things,
yes,
right?
exactly.
Like we were talking moments ago, and I was like, back in my day, I was a total bro. Like
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
only like recently when from my ex-girlfriend Shayna, she really got me really into like the Olympic end of things, and like she's really good at she's not you, but like she's reasonably really good at it. She used to train at Warhouse Gym.
Okay, yeah.
Have you ever trained there?
I haven't, but I'm
Dude,
familiar with it.
that gym was awesome, man.
Yeah.
My favorite place to go in that gym, they had like a basement, and dude, it just felt like an 80s like Arnold kind of like fucking vibe.
Yeah.
And like all the monsters trained down there. Like that's where all the dudes that were like like the rejects from society that were just like fucking a muscle with a face, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was really cool. I really liked that gym. There's something about like the feel of a gym like that too that kind of draws out.
And some people absolutely love that feeling, and some people it's not for them. I mean,
definitely.
Garage Strength used to literally be out of a barn. Dane Miller, the one who owns it, literally, it was a barn.
Yeah.
And we trained in there, and in the wintertime, we'd heat it with 2 coal stoves. And I remember we'd have to put the barbells in front of the coal stove for the half an hour that were, like, warming up. Throw towels on it, too, in between your sets to keep it warm enough that you're not touching, like, ice-cold steel while you're lifting.
Yeah.
And if you were to go in the morning at 8 a.m., the gym would probably be either freezing or between freezing temperature and 40 degrees. So it creates some character. Now he's much nicer. He's grown very successfully. So his gym now is a lot nicer.
That's pretty dope, man. Like I personally get pretty like hot. Like I sweat a lot when I lift. I feel like lifting in the cold is probably an interesting thing. Like what was your experience with that? I'm kind of curious. Did you cramp a lot and stuff?
No. So I'd go and sit beside the coal stove between sets there. If it was a really cold day and there were a lot of cracks in the barn, so you'd have some like wind coming in a little bit too. You throw a towel down onto the bar itself in between your sets. You have a beanie hat on, you have a hoodie on, a long sleeve under that, t-shirt under that. You have shorts, sweatpants, things of all that nature. But I mean, it's cold. You just create a character from it. You can complain about it, you can just deal with it.
Yeah, that's hard, dude. I like that. Yeah.
So I mean, you go from there to air conditioned. It's nice. I mean, the summertime you still got the doors open and it's 90 degrees and humid in Pennsylvania anyways. So it feels like shit. But so you still get a little bit of that. But quick going back to that, like going in a public gym. So you have distraction training. So it forces you, especially in a technical sport, to really think intrinsically the type of technique that you're doing, exactly every single part of the lift. You have to be so proficient and so what's the word I'm looking for? Purposeful in every movement that you do. And you can't be focusing on anything else in your environment. You have to be focused on what you're doing in the sport of weightlifting. You're holding onto the bar literally from the time it's on the ground till the time it's overhead and you drop it. So you feel everything. So it helps you focus on that. The other reason, and just being a higher level athlete, if you want to compete at a high level, you have to have a certain amount of an ego. I can try and be as humble as I can now when I'm having conversations with people. I try and refrain from having relating conversation about the level that I'm at. There's really no need to let people find out for themselves. Yeah. Just be quiet about it and humble. I'm a perfect example, dude. Exactly. but when you're in a public setting, I can be. So I'm better from a hang snatch. So I start with a barbell up at the hip, I lower it down to like the knee, and then I pull it. It works more explosive power. I've hang snatched 315 with that. So they see some kid 150 pounds basically hang snatching 315. No one's ever gonna expect that, and you can see their faces staring at you. Yeah. It's a bit of an ego trip. Like I said before, if you get to a high level in sports, you can be very humble. Those are the best athletes, but deep down you have a bit of an ego. You like people acknowledging that you're doing really well. So I can tap into that. I'll be humble while I'm there, but inside I can be like, yo, this is cool. Everyone's noticing me. It's fun. Yeah. So I've used that to my advantage, going from I'll train about half the time at the weightlifting gym, half the time at the YO, and then periodically, if I'm time crunched, wanting to make the gym here, or if I want to do anything separately, I can do some stuff here at the home gym because we have a whole setup. A squat rack that can hold 1,100 pounds.
It's really quality in there. Yeah, man. It's definitely like like I said, man, like that's a fucking good home gym, man. That's
Yeah.
everything you actually need. Like,
Yeah, and I've wanted one for so long, and we finally had a little bit of the money now to do it. We're in a position financially that, you know, we're not killing it, but we're safe.
Yeah.
And it was something that we felt, you know, ideally I'd like to make to the Olympics at some point. This past year I was the second alternate to the Olympics. So
yeah, man, let's definitely talk about that. Can we talk about like your journey into like becoming like a competitive weightlifter? Like,
Yeah.
what does it start at? Like, how do you go from like bro to fucking like pro, you know?
So I went from I was always encouraged to do any sport when I was a youth, when I was young, more so in elementary school. My mother was very into me picking up as many sports as I can. From the time I was about 5 or 6, me and my brother started doing like recreational gymnastics, just for the purpose of moving your body, learning self-body awareness and all that.
Can you do a flip and stuff?
I can.
Oh,
Yeah,
sick.
yeah. I haven't done gymnastics in like 8 years, but I can still do that.
Yeah.
But in middle school, I got into wrestling, but still did the gymnastics recreationally. The coach was kind of getting into CrossFit when CrossFit started blowing up, and he would have workouts on Tuesday and Friday evenings. And when I was around 14, 15, I started to get into it with him. He had a group of friends. My brother did it because my brother is a gymnastics coach, also contractor, but he got into it, and then he pulled me along as well. I started to get into CrossFit a little bit around the time I was getting into wrestling. Became a wrestler in high school. I was good, wasn't great, but I stuck with CrossFit. And then obviously in CrossFit comes weightlifting movements. At one point, I was competing in CrossFit. I was doing well for my age, but I realized weighing 155, 160 pounds is not going to get me much further. I needed to pack on some muscle and especially work on like the weightlifting movements. So I decided during the summer between my senior year of high school and then into my first semester of freshman year of college, I decided, let me solely focus on some strength and work on the weightlifting movements, and then I can come back at the beginning of, it would be 2016 then, I'll get back into CrossFit a bit more. And as I went, my squat went from like 400 up to like 450. Front squat went from like 315 to like 385.
Nice.
Clean went from like 275 to 335, something like that. So I got really good.
What do you think were like a few of the factors that made you kind of like, did you have like an epiphany moment, like, oh my God, like if I'm doing this technique like this differently? Like for me, I can give an example, like for deadlifts. I remember when my buddy Mike Hong, I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He was like he's probably the strongest guy I knew when I first started lifting, and he's the one that taught me how to deadlift. And he would have me like just with the bar, like doing the technique perfectly before he would have. It was like he was like I'm pretty sure he was a Vietnamese guy, but he had like a big like Asian posse. It was a couple of my friends. It was just funny because you knew like the Asian guys were in the gym because they were the only ones deadlifting. I'm like, bro, like you guys are so strong. Like, can you teach me? Like, I'm interested in this. And deadlift is now like my best thing because like he would make me do the form perfectly.
There's
before
form
he
and
would
technique
let me
to
throw
it.
weight on it. Yeah.
Even as simple as a deadlift. Yeah, there's a lot of form and technique that goes into it.
Absolutely.
So now think about that, and now you pull that bar instead of from the floor to the thigh, you're now pulling it all the way to your shoulder and then over to the head, and that's just one of our movements.
Insane,
and then the other one, we pull it to the hip, and then immediately pull yourself underneath the bar and catch it in a full overhead squat.
Yeah.
So in weightlifting, you got to start light. Anything, as with any other sport, you got to start slow. Every movement is very specific, very purposeful, and you have to learn the technique at first. Then you can start adding some weight on. Now, there are other things in like the sport of weightlifting where you can work with the barbell and start working on technique right away, going light. And then in the other aspect, say you're a bit of an not older, but like mid-20s, mid-30s, whatever, you can then start, and you're already strong. Say you've gone to the gym a lot, but you're just wanting to learn weightlifting now. Start with the barbell to learn the technique, everything behind that. And at the same time, if you already have some strength, still focus on your deadlift, still focus on your squats and get that strength there. And then slowly over time, you can start implementing, adding in more weight to your technique of the clean and jerk and the snatch. But you want to first start having excellent technique to begin with. because you can learn something. It's much harder to unlearn it and then learn the right way again.
Yeah, man, 100%.
You create movement patterns in your body. Your nervous system is now adapted to doing that movement when you're attempting to do anything you're really doing in life. It's really difficult to unlearn a movement pattern. So start light, work on the technique, find someone who knows what they're doing. There's a lot of people who think they know what they're doing, especially in a sport. And weightlifting is one of those weird things where it's technically a sport that's competed in. The USA is not, it's growing substantially competitively across the world, in terms of the USA being a force to reckon with. But the USA isn't really the best country in the world right now in the sport of weightlifting. In Europe, it's way more popular, more like the Eastern Bloc European countries, as well as in China. It's incredibly popular. So weightlifting in other countries is like our NFL a lot of times, kind of like soccer.
Really?
And weightlifting is like,
yeah, I was thinking soccer would be our
so
NFL
like football,
and
yeah, so
stuff,
football,
yeah. Football, yeah.
And then weightlifting is really big for the European countries, and then same thing with like China. So like Russia, China, Iran, they're huge into weightlifting. Ukraine, Poland, Kazakhstan, they're all huge in weightlifting. You'll find a lot of really talented athletes there. Now, a lot of PED use in there too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and it's a lot more difficult to get really good in weightlifting in the US because we have USADA that'll come. Like I was telling you beforehand, I've had USADA show up at my door. I've had them at 6:30 in the morning, and I've had them at 9:30 at night. Urine and blood test. So we can't get away with really anything here. People try. A lot of them get caught. But if you got the money like China, all they do there is they pay off WADA tons of money, and then they can piss hot in competition at the Olympics. We've seen it done. In International Weightlifting Federation, the president, who's been in there for 40 years, just got ousted for taking millions and millions of dollars in bribes, and for covering up positive doping tests. They would just take the money, they'd piss hot, and then they would just throw it out and say they were clean, and then report that to WADA. So,
what's your opinion on that? Do you think it should just be allowed for people to do whatever they want to their body to, maximize the potential and, cut years off their later years as a result?
So we see that in there's multiple different organizations in powerlifting. I think even bodybuilding, they have PED use and then clean. You'll still see people in like the clean version still taking some PEDs. Would love to see what the human body can fully do with or without drugs. The issue is you'll have people, and I think ethically they're correct when they go, okay, well, I want to see what I could do without, science. My body was born in a way that we have a certain ability, and we can create weights. Now you're talking science, literally injecting something into you or taking a pill of some form that can dramatically increase your recovery. Because that's a lot of what these drugs do, is just helps you to recover better, so you can then hit the gym the next day harder. If you've ever been to the gym and you've just had a tremendous day of training and you feel amazing, everything you do, you're just killing. That's basically what training is like with PEDs. Every single day. Every day is like that because you recover so quickly. Now, they go, okay, well, I don't want to put this in my body, though, because we've seen to the extent that I need to put it in order to compete with the best in the world, if we're all doing it, I'm going to die when I'm 45. And we've seen, like, Naeem Suleimanoglu, the Pocket Hercules dude. He weighed, like, 60 kilograms. It's like, I forget how much that even is. Probably, like, 130 pounds or something like that. And he died when I think he was, like, 46. But he also clean and jerked. I think his record was like 190 kilos. It's like 410 pounds or something like that. 415 pounds.
What is that? What does that work? What is that exercise?
The shoulder and then overhead.
Okay, so like not from here.
From the floor,
To the
to the shoulder,
like where
and
we
then
had
to
in the
overhead.
thumbnail.
Yeah,
And then
and he weighed like 130 pounds, and he clean and jerked like
400 some
415.
pounds. That's
Yeah,
insane,
he has the best,
dude.
what they call Sinclair, meaning he's the best ever ranked weightlifter in history at the moment. So he has the
Like
highest
pound for
Sinclair.
pound.
Pound for pound, he is the best. And they compare it. They even have it in a formula that can make like weight class comparable. Because when you get heavier, you're not. So he has a triple body weight clean and jerk, over triple body weight clean and jerk. And when you get heavier, like we have Lasha Telekatsi from Georgia, the country, and he is the Olympic champion, multiple time Olympic champion in the heavyweight division. He walks around at about 175 kilograms, about 385 pounds. But he just snatched in training, but 495 pounds. That's from the floor to overhead in one motion.
Yeah.
And you catch it in overhead squat. Think about doing that with almost 500 pounds. And then he just clean and jerk 265, which is 272 is 600 pounds. So he did 585 for a clean and jerk. But 265 kilos weighing 175, that's not even 100 kilograms over body weight. So he's nowhere near even double body weight. But you have Pocket Hercules doing more than triple body weight. So the formula that they do with Sinclair kind of evens it out comparably. So it makes all the weight classes fair. It's not just doing how it compares pound to pound. It like makes it even for all of them.
Yeah.
But he has the highest Sinclair ever for a male athlete. And he was in the 80s when they took everything and no one tested anything. So, yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Damn, dude, that's crazy. I'm just kind of like hanging on the ego thing that you were saying, and it made me think of the Dom Mazzetti bro science guy.
Oh,
What's
yeah.
your take on that guy?
Oh, God. He's funny. I think he had a video recently that was kind of, I think it was criticizing, it was criticizing like the actual sport of weightlifting. It was really funny though. Yeah. He's a funny guy. Some of his stuff some of his shit's stupid, but but no, he's a really funny guy. I like the majority of his stuff.
Yeah. I remember when I was lifting consistently, like I would religiously watch his stuff and like Hodge twins and all that shit.
Yeah, man, the Hodge twins when they were still lifting and everything. Those are some funny videos.
Yeah,
I remember I got a cut off tank top of theirs.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. Yeah, it was them and like there was a couple other guys. Who's the black guy? It's still your
Ronnie Coleman.
Set.
Are you thinking
no,
Ronnie Coleman?
Not Ronnie Coleman. CT Fletcher.
Oh yeah.
I love that guy, dude. I would listen to him on my way to the gym, and like CT would like, if I wanted to laugh, it was the Dom Mazzetti guy, but if I wanted to like have a good day,
there's another one. I think Kai Green. I think.
Oh yeah, dude.
That monster.
Dude, there's so many of those like crazy like dudes. Like YouTube was popping off in like that, like in my early 20s, like when I was lifting a lot. Who are some people that you looked up to in like your early like lifting days?
I mean, I liked watching the Hodge twins because they were funny.
Yeah,
in the gym.
same.
I mean, would it be? Are you thinking about when I was still just like
maybe
Globo gym type or CrossFit type?
Yeah.
I got into CrossFit for a while as well. I mean, in all reality, when I was getting,
like before you knew this was your shit, you know.
It's a good question. I don't really know if I watched a lot of people when I was just doing like Globo gym stuff. I mean, that was when I was in high school though.
Yeah.
We had a really good weight room with where I went, like really nice weight room.
Yeah.
Like 28 power racks with like Olympic style barbells and bumper plates and Concept 2 rowers and stuff. So like it was a good weight room for high school.
Yeah.
I don't really know if I watched many people there, but I also got into CrossFit when I was a junior in high school. So I mean, I was looking up to like obviously Rich Froning because he just was the big one at the time.
Yeah.
Dan Bailey was really cool then. Jason Khalipa was getting a little bit older at the time, not in as much. I'm trying to really think back then. I don't really know. I mean, that was a while ago. It's hard to remember who I was really looking up to at that point. But then I was also heavily looking into weightlifting at the time, too, because at the same time I was doing CrossFit, I was watching weightlifting. And, of course, you had John North. Do you know who that is?
No, John North, I don't.
He's in a very interesting character. should go back and watch the old Cal strength videos from like 2012 to like 2015 or so. He is a very outgoing individual. Yells a lot.
Yeah.
Screams. Funny though.
Like while he's lifting.
While he's lifting, yeah, he's a funny guy to watch. He's
Yeah.
been basically deemed one of the people in USA weightlifting who got some of the most amount of people into weightlifting just because of his character.
Yeah.
Very ego.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call him egotistical, but he had a large ego.
Yeah.
But it was really funny to watch. He would like put on a performance.
He was really unique.
Yeah, it wasn't just
way.
him lifting. It was more fun stuff to it. I wouldn't necessarily say I looked up heavily to him, but there were some other, like, there's like Jared Fleming, another weightlifter. He's retired now. He actually tore his ACL at a world championship. Kind of a rare thing to happen. It's not common for weightlifters to actually get injured. It's one of the safest sports, actually.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Because you have complete control of the bar that you're moving the entire time. There's obviously weird things that happen.
And the spotters there, like, you know what I mean? That's always like one that, like, I never was confident myself. I mean, I can't say this for everybody, but I would never like push my limits without having a spotter around.
Yeah, I mean, so when you get a lot more competitive into weightlifting, or even at a higher level, you don't really have any spotters with you.
Yeah,
the only
especially for like Olympic lifts, so you can't really spot.
Yeah,
that.
So you wouldn't spot anything for that because we just drop the weights. The real only time that you might have a spotter is if you're in training, like with squats and you're going super heavy. And honestly, I haven't trained with a spotter in probably 5 or 6 years at this point. If I am squatting super heavy for like a multiple repetition maximum, or even like a single maximum, I know if I don't get it, I can just bail out. I just kind of jump forward, let it pop off the back. It's not really it's kind of a skill. It maybe takes like a few minutes to learn how to properly bail out of a squat.
Yeah.
You just let it pop off your back, but you kind of like push your hips forward, like, so you can't stand up all the way with it. And you have bumper plates on, so you can let it drop to the floor.
Yeah.
You just kind of pop your hips forward a little bit, and it just kind of pops off the back.
Yeah.
So
I remember one time, like, I got crushed by the bar. Like, squatting is, like, my least favorite, like, lift. Like, for maxing, anyway. I like to do, like, lots of, like, 10 sets of, like, 135.
Okay.
Just marathon it. Like, that's fun. But, like, when it gets heavy, it's like, oh, this is so bad. But I remember I just let it crush me all the way to the ground.
God.
Like, and it would just rest on, like, the safety John. Like, that's beneath your thing. And I would just... Like, I'm pretty flexible, so I just, like, went all the way down. And, dude, that is the most... There's something about, like, failing on bench. It's like, oh, man, it falls on your chest, whatever. Oh, I can't lift it off the ground for deadlift. Dude, when it's a squat, it's just crushing you into the earth.
Physically and emotionally.
Yeah. It's so... Dude, it's like... I didn't cry on my way home, but, man, I may as well have.
No,
Damn. We got some comments. Let me see if there's any actual questions. Awesome. So somebody's 150 and they're listening to you.
Nice.
That's awesome though.
Keep going, man. I'm 152 right now.
Yeah.
Pounds, yeah.
Yeah. So do you want to talk a little bit about like what your current like PRs are and stuff? And like how, like, what is it like building up to that for you? I want to know like what's like a week of ramping up to hit a PR like for you?
So we do what my coach terms parabolic training. So some people will go like conjugate method, or I mean, there's many different forms of like periodization. Parabolic training is kind of what it is. It's like a parabola, and so what we kind of do is like one day we'll go a little bit lighter in weight, maybe around like 80 to 85% of my maximum bests in terms of like weight wise.
Yeah.
But I'll stick to some volume there. So sets and repetitions there. It could be more technical movements, things that are focusing on a certain part of the lift that I may be technically deficient in, or what we think I'm technically deficient in, and we can focus there. And then the next day I may go heavier for fewer repetitions, but my intensity is greater. And then the next day we'll back off again, and then the next day we'll go heavy again. But throughout the course of the week, you'll have this parabola that works into a higher intensity level. With that being said, my best currently, I had a few really good months of training between the end of the winter, the spring, and the summer this year. Recently, I wouldn't say I got hurt a little bit. I had some nagging, like a left knee issue. Went to the
just
PT,
some,
helped
like,
out a
chronic
lot.
stuff.
Yeah, and then I got COVID.
Yeah.
So it took me out for a little bit, but I'm just kind of coming back now, and I'll be competing at Pan Am's here in a few weeks, the Senior Pan Am Championships in Ecuador in a few weeks. My best currently during that training cycle, I hit them.
That's so funny that that's called Pan Am's, because Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu also has Pan Am's.
Yeah, well, they're all the same. Yeah, so the Pan
Yeah.
American Championships, so North, Central, and South America all will compete together.
Yeah.
Each sport will have an individual time they do it, but that's their
I
Pan
didn't
Am
even know
Championship.
that.
Yeah, so they'll have their
That's
Pan
cool.
Am Championships, and then just like we have the Olympic Games every 4 years, we'll have the Pan American Games, which will be the year prior to the Olympics, when all the sports come together to one location to do the Pan American Games. So it's kind of like their championship for that year, but in one central location for all the sports the year prior to the actual Olympics. So it kind of mimics the Olympics, but for North, Central, and South America. Currently my best, I'll compete in the 67 kilogram division, which is roughly around 148 pounds. So I cut a little bit of water weight. Around the time of this training, I was around 152 to 155 pounds, depending on the month I did them. I snatched from the floor 295 in pounds, which was 134 kilograms. Yeah. I clean and jerked off of a block, so it raises the bar a few inches off the floor to begin with. 175 kilograms, which is 385 pounds. I back squatted for a double. I don't know my single because we almost never do singles, but for a double I did 485 for a double in pounds. Off of blocks, so it raises the bar up to shoulder height, and then you just do a jerk from there.
Yeah.
185 kilos, which is 407 pounds. Let me think what else I did. From the floor, I cleaned 175. I missed the jerk on that. It just took too much out of me. I also did that 2 days after I cleaned and jerked, that same weight from the block.
Yeah.
And I probably shouldn't have done that. That was me being a little stupid and going too heavy too soon. But yeah, so those are some of my best ones. About a month ago, before I got COVID, I hang snatched 315 in pounds, so 143 kilograms, which is 5 kilograms over the American record. So I'm really good at the hang snatch because it does the stretch shortening cycle of your hamstrings, so like the Golgi tendon organ, kind of where my master's in sports science comes into play. So like the Golgi tendon organ and the muscle spindles will be stretched, become kind of hyperactive, and then almost works like a rubber band. You stretch it, it pulls back. It kind of does that, so I'm really efficient at those.
Nice.
But I saw that start to increase, and around the same time that my snatch started to increase, I just got to start working more pulling from the floor. I'm a little weaker in that position. Oh, I power cleaned 155 in kilograms, which is 341 pounds. So I power cleaned that.
That's insane, dude.
Yeah, but I'm really good at power cleans.
Like
so.
For what you weigh, like the ratios.
Yeah, like 150.
How far are you off of that pocket Hercules guy?
Pretty freaking far.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to take some next level PED shit to be there. Yeah.
for
They
sure.
do say though that if you take like reasonable PEDs, that you'll increase your performance by about 10% of what you are naturally. So my snatches lax a little bit. The current world record I think is like 155 in my weight class, like the 341 pounds to snatch by a Chinese dude.
That probably got like a write-off.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, you add 10% to 134 kilos, you're looking at like 147, 148 kilos, so close. But my best clean and jerk, 175, you know, you add 10% to that, I'm over the world record. The world record right now is like 188 in kilograms, a little over 400 pounds. About 414, 415 pounds, something like that.
Damn, dude.
So, I mean, I'm at the level that if I took PEDs and I got full 9 hours of sleep every night and I didn't actually have to have a full-time job to worry about, like some of these people, I think I could be pushing some records.
Yeah.
But, you know, live in America where weightlifting isn't that popular of a sport, when you don't get paid like an NFL player.
Yeah.
You gotta work for your living full-time, and this is basically a hobby. I pay to travel, unless I'm on Team USA, like when I go to Ecuador in a few weeks. The Team USA pays for that, but any national events I have to fly to, because it comes out of my own pocket. So
Yeah.
to be a world-class athlete in America in the sport I compete in, it costs me money. I don't get anything for it. I'm not sponsored by anyone. I don't get a stipend.
Why?
So.
Do you think you could be sponsored? Like, I feel like you're well accomplished enough to be.
I feel like I could. I mean, I don't. It again. So like weightlifting isn't a super popular sport. Like it's growing substantially.
I feel like there's some money in it though.
There is some.
Yeah.
I could get like smaller sponsors. I mean, I have a guy who owns United Lifters. He's very well known in weightlifting, a little bit in CrossFit too, the world, and even powerlifting. He has an apparel company. He's been a real good friend of mine. Like technically he's a gemologist over in California, so he creates jewelry. He made me and my wife's wedding bands, and then he was the ordained minister at our wedding last year. So he was that guy. He flew out to here to be that for us. But he owns the United Lifters company, so like he'll send me a lot of free stuff with that. I mean, there's a chance I could get a stipend if I like medal at certain events. So I mean, there can be money made. I'm like on the verge of making a stipend from USA Weightlifting. I just have to do it. It really comes down to I need to put a little bit more effort into the sport itself. And what that would mean is that I have to take some time away from something else in my life. And at the moment, not having a full-time job of guaranteed paycheck, being a real estate agent at the moment, it's commission-based. My wife, she's a real estate agent, so she's absolutely killing it at the moment. So the
housing market's crazy right
yeah,
now,
I mean, it's a real difficult market, though, to be in as an agent, because there's
competition's probably
very competitive. It's a seller's market. There's very low inventory and a ton of buyers, and there's a ton of agents.
Yeah.
So you have a ton of people trying to buy homes when there's like no inventory of homes. So it's very competitive.
Yeah.
I mean, this is her first year, but she's doing phenomenally well. It's almost unheard of how well she's doing as a first-year agent. And then when I just recently moved over to be one, I got a home under contract within my first week, which is like apparently like a record in the team that I'm with. So hopefully that brings good things. Hopefully I don't jinx anything.
Yeah.
But
Knock on wood.
Exactly. But I mean, this is a profession now that I'm in that you put time and effort in, and it may not actually come out to a paycheck. So it can be stressful in that sense. So at a certain point, you have to be very proficient with your time management and know when I'm done for the day what I got to do. Everything has to be turned off to then go into the gym and solely focus on weightlifting. So there's got to be a give and take.
How many hours a day do you dedicate to lifting?
An average day of training takes about 2 hours. In the
that's
gym.
What I used to like to do.
It'll take about 2 hours to train. If I go to a gym that's not in my garage, it takes me about half an hour to get there, half an hour to get back. So you're looking at around 3 hours a day, which 3 hours a day is a lot of. Realistically, that's a lot of time. It's not a lot of time, but it is a lot of time.
Yeah, when every day.
Exactly.
It adds up 100%.
Yeah.
Huge commitment.
It is.
One thing the reason I chose LA Fitness was because it was less than 5 minutes down the road from my job, so I'd literally go from work to the gym.
Yeah.
It was too easy, and I think that's another thing that's really convenient. You ever hear that quote? If you're having a rough day, don't be a bitch and skip the gym and make it worse. You know what I mean? Like, you got to make it in there.
Yeah.
Them endorphins will fix a lot of shit in your life, man.
It will.
It's really cool. Like the early part of my life, like building those gains, where it was like really imperative to me being an okay athlete, like in the sense that I am, and like the other things I do.
Well, the gym's definitely been, even though it's a sport I compete in that you have to focus on what you're doing to get better. I mean, the gym, in other senses, you can go in and have more of a technical day with lighter weights when you're not like having to push super hard there. And then for my squats or pulling afterwards, so like my average day will look like some form of snatch, some form of clean and jerk, and then some form of either squat or pull, and then like other bodybuilding stuff to put accessory lifts in. You could go in, if you're having like a stressful day, you can maybe change up your programming a little bit if need be, or do a different day of my programming, go lighter on the actual
you
lifts.
put together programs for people.
I can. I don't often do it now. What I mean is like my coach puts together a program for me
Oh,
that
okay,
he
okay.
sees on issues that I might have that I need to work on. But
Understand.
like if I'm having a stressful day and I know I need to kind of turn my brain off, I can work on lighter movements just to kind of loosen up, just get the movement in to keep the motor pattern ingrained. And then I can push really hard on squats or pulls and kind of hammer the bodybuilding movements a little better. So like you said, kind of get that stress relief aspect of lifting in the gym. My sport's very technical, and sometimes you just need a day where it's not technical. You just need to push hard on easier lifts, but you can just get a good pump in, and
Yeah.
sometimes you just need that.
Yeah,
So
100%, man. What do you think is like what do you think is like your favorite like weightlifting like category sport versus like your least favorite? Like bodybuilding, I always looked at that like you have to be genetically gifted to like win that first of all,
Yeah.
and then it comes with the hard work and like dehydrating yourself and stuff.
yeah,
I was pretty intimately involved with someone that was like going after that stuff. Like I used to train with like a couple guys that do that. Actually, that did pretty good in one of those things. Twin brothers.
okay.
And I'm pretty sure they both did really well. And it's just like, man, like what you have to do for that is crazy too.
Yeah, that I mean bodybuilding itself, if you want to compete in it, that's some really next level stuff. I mean, they look at their bodies every single day and they try and think, how can I make my body more symmetrical, and what do I need to work on to make it bigger, or what do I need to do that I think will make the judges most impressed?
Yeah.
And it can be many different things.
Yeah, I just think it's crazy. Like that's such a weirdly like subjective
Yeah,
thing.
it is very subjective. That's why I like my sport, where it can be very objective.
Yeah, I will do that. Like I'm a big fan as well. Like anything where it's like that guy's the strongest
Yeah,
one. Like
yeah.
that's it, you know?
But like with bodybuilding, their diet has to be absolutely on point 24/7. Same thing with their sleep. And then like you said, they dehydrate themselves substantially. So they're like cutting weight. Now in the sport of weightlifting, same thing honestly, a lot of power lifters are getting to this point as well. When they're training super hard, everything is like very scientific. Same thing with their diet, same thing with their sleep, how they're recovering, their weight cuts. Powerlifting, weightlifting, strongman, not as much, because a lot of strongman, I mean, they do have weight classes in some of them, but the ones that are the most popular are like the heavyweights, the ones that you see like, what's his name, Hafthor Jorgensen, I think is how you pronounce it, Brian Shaw, Eddie Hall, those like the well-known strongmen at the world level. They don't really have to watch their weight, but they still have to eat a ton. A lot of them still track their macros to make sure that they're getting the exact type of macronutrients in their body. Their sleep has to be on point. Everything's becoming much more scientific. So every sport has its give and takes of how in-depth it has to be. Bodybuilding's kind of crazy because, like you said, it's subjective, and you have to think what movements do I have to do, what reps, what sets do I have to do, how long do I have to do this, partnered with what kind of macros do I need to be eating, along with, do I need to get bulkier in this muscle, or do I need to make it a little leaner? Do I need to show every single muscle fiber more, or do I need to pack on size to this muscle just in general? At what point in my programming do I have to do this? 6 weeks out from a competition, they're going to be leaning down, making every single muscle fiber shown a little better. If you're 6 months out, you're going to be trying to pack on some muscle, so you can add a little bit of body fat to stay healthier as you're training. All this stuff. I think bodybuilding is a little bit more in depth with all of it, but you're seeing every form of sport that deals with a barbell or a dumbbell or anything that you're in the gym working out per se, that type of sport, you're seeing that become much more scientific and not just a power lifter with a beer gut going and deadlifting a lot of weight or bench pressing a lot of weight. Everything is becoming much more scientific and purposeful in everything they do in their daily life. When you get to a high level,
the dailies,
everything is done for a reason.
That's crazy, man. Can you talk a little bit about your diet? Like, what's your like everyday diet versus like I'm about to compete in a month? Like, what's the diet difference?
Every day I'm not competing in a month type of diet. I used to track my macros religiously. Around the time COVID started, I went, all right, well, I've done this for about 4 years straight. I need a little bit of a break from this. So what it'll look like now, if I'm really far out, I'll just step on a scale at least once a week just to make sure I'm not doing anything too stupid. But from tracking my
stupid.
so from tracking my macros for like 3 to 4 years straight, I kind of have a good idea of what I should be eating in certain quantities, just eyeballing it up.
Yeah.
So I just make sure I get enough like chicken in. That's for the most part what I was able to afford was mainly chicken, but now I can get a little bit of steak in if I want, or a steak, hamburger, something of the sort, just to get some good protein in. Higher protein than you'd think. So I am one to like around 2 grams of protein per kilogram body weight. In a lot of science papers, you'll see around 1.8 is ideal for putting on muscle. I like around 2 to 2.2 grams of protein per kilogram body weight a day, just because you can do what your body's called is gluconeogenesis, when it can take amino acids broken down from proteins and actually turn it into glucose, which is what you would be breaking carbohydrates down into if you're not getting enough carbs. It's a bit of a process, but it can be done. So if you're not taking in enough carbs, your body can still convert the protein over into a form of a carbohydrate. It's broken down instead of glucose. And unless you're taking like 6 grams of carbohydrates per kilogram a day of protein, you're not really going to damage your liver or kidneys. There's just really no proof of that through all the scientific studies that I've read. And again, my master's in sports science, so I've read a decent amount of papers on those scientific study papers.
Yeah.
So I won't really track my macros anymore. I'll just kind of eyeball what a standard meal might look like, just making sure I get enough protein in at every single meal. I'm a big fan of eggs in the morning. I might
You do 3 meals a day?
If I can. I'm not great at getting breakfast in. If I get up early enough, I'll get breakfast in. I personally like omelets, but it's probably been a while since I made them. I'll have some form of toast or bagel. I honestly like making like an egg sandwich. I just have like this little like simple like microwave thing that I can scramble up an egg, throw it in the microwave, and it makes it.
Yeah.
So I did that a lot because it was convenient. But then at lunchtime, I could have a ham sandwich that has a lot of ham in it, like a lean cut ham, or some form of chicken. Recently, I've been making a lot of like chicken nuggets in my air fryer.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it helps me eat the chicken a bit more.
Yeah.
And then at night we'll have some form of. Now we do some form of like red meat. We cheat a little bit with like some pizza here and there, like something simple. But as long as I know I'm getting enough protein and if I'm stepping on the scale, I'm not going up. I know I'm just doing it right, and I just go how my body feels. As we get closer to competition, I'll start tracking my macros, and everything is deliberate. So what I eat in the morning, I'll weigh on the scale. Everything that goes in my body will be weighed. So like if I need to be a little leaner and I'm having a little less fat in my diet for some reason, then my 3 eggs might be 2 eggs and 2 egg whites, or I'll go get some egg whites in a carton. I'll pour that out. Some leaner cheeses as well. I'm a fan of cheese, so like I'll throw it in my omelet or something.
Yeah.
Same thing at like lunchtime. I'll have mainly chicken at that point. It's a very lean protein. But
you don't do fish at all?
Not a ton, just because I'm not the biggest fish fan.
Okay.
If I like fish if I can catch it.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
I don't like store-bought fish as much, but if I catch it, I'll eat it. I should eat more fish, honestly. I take a fish oil pill, so that's helpful for the omega-3s and 6s, and the DHA and EPA that helps with brain activity. And then dinner can vary. I don't try and have the exact same thing every single day, just to keep it entertaining and not boring all the time. But again, I'll track my macros, try and keep it around. So for me, what that'll look like is I might start lowering my calories a little bit as I'm getting 6 weeks out from a competition, depending on how heavy I am over, and knowing that I'll be cool with weighing 68.5 kilos the week prior to weighing in, and then I'll cut the 1.5 kilos through a water load and then water cut.
Yeah.
And then same thing with reducing sodium intake for that week. And then right after I weigh in, we have 2 hours until we compete. So then I'll intake a lot of water with like liquid IV. It has a huge amount of sodium, potassium, zinc, magnesium, some things
helps
that'll
you
help
metabolize everything.
Yeah,
and resaturate yourself
yeah,
with water. That's cool.
and
That's pretty big in My gym, we just started messing around with that.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah. Like I used to do like Pedialyte before I fight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good. But like a liquid IV is substantially better.
Really?
The ratio of the sodium, potassium, magnesium, zinc, all the other stuff that's in it, is a much better ratio. That if you do water cut and also cut your sodium intake to help reduce overall weight, because sodium holds water. Same thing with like if I'm also cutting that week, I'll dramatically increase my protein and fat, but dramatically reduce my carbohydrates, because every single gram of carbohydrates holds 3 grams of water. It'll attach to it. So if, say I'm eating 300 grams of carbs on a regular basis, I can cut it down to 100 grams for that week. I just cut 200 grams of carbohydrates. Now I may increase my protein, because roughly every gram of protein is about the same amount of calories as a gram of carbohydrates.
Yeah.
You're looking at tenths of a calorie at that point. So just call it the same. So you can, for the most part, increase your protein, increase your fat, because you still want to be utilizing the triglycerides that fat is broken down into, and that helps to create hormones like growth hormone, testosterone, IGF-1, things that are anabolic, for especially for men in my sport, things that help create explosive power and keep the strength. You want those hormones. Fats do that. So low fats diets, stupid. Low fat diets are really stupid.
Yeah, for lifting.
Well, just in general.
In general.
A lot of people, it's really stupid to do a low fat diet. Maybe you have a dietitian and they say to do that for a very specific reason. I'm not going to say.
Yeah, maybe you're fat and you have like bad cholesterol or something.
Exactly, yeah.
Like,
or just in general, you're eating really terrible foods and you have a super high fatty diet that you should be reducing anyways. I'm not going to say there's a purpose for a specific diet. You can find a purpose and it'll be useful for that.
Yeah, like
in
if you want to be the
general-
heaviest person in the world, you want to eat Domino's for every
Exactly.
meal.
But the whole low fat diet or like a no fat diet, I think is really stupid, because you need fat in your diet to create hormones, both women and men. So I'll increase my fat to get the calories in, and I'll increase my protein, because like I said earlier, you can turn protein that are broken down into amino acids, then can be used through our process called gluconeogenesis.
Yeah.
Meaning glucose, new, genesis is basically production of.
Yeah.
So you're producing glucose from amino acids. So you can basically, if you're not consuming a carbohydrate, if you consume more protein than what your body needs, it can kind of turn that protein into that carbohydrate per se used in your body. But you can reduce your glucose storage, and every gram, like I said, of carbs that you don't take will then take off, or theoretically you're not then attaching 3 grams of water. So
Yeah.
you take away 200 grams, say that in some form you're still adding in 200 grams of total weight of food between the protein and fats. So that's a write-off. But there's 600 grams of of water that's now not attached to it, that your body will not be holding on to. Well, 600 grams, that's 6/10 of a kilo. You're looking at least, 1 kilogram is 2.2 pounds. So more than half of that, you're looking at probably 1.3 pounds of water to 1.4 pounds of water you're now not holding, because you just took out 200 grams of carbs. So right there you can drop some weight. So I kind of do that as well. Sodium, you reduce your sodium, it'll prevent water retention.
That's
So
cool.
right
I'm
after-
definitely hitting you up for
Yeah.
my next weight cut, dude.
Yeah.
You were really going in on
This is
this.
where being in a weight class sport and doing all this stuff is helpful
Yeah.
to have your master's in sports
Yeah,
science.
no doubt.
And especially when you get hurt, because my
Yeah.
master's in sports science and rehab.
Yeah. Look, can I ask you something really quick? Like,
Yeah.
maybe I have like a false idea of how this works, and you're a professional, so I want to ask
Yeah.
the expert here. I was always under the impression that your body doesn't, like, let's say I have like a protein shake, and in it has 50 grams of protein or something, whatever it might have, right? Depending on your metabolism, you're not going to get all 50 of those grams metabolized into your body.
To a certain extent.
Yeah, so like where do you like how do you, I'm trying to think, like, of course there's more foods that maybe are easier to metabolize the certain qualities of those foods, but like what are some things that you use to kind of compensate for that sort of thing, and like how realistic is that idea that's a thing? Like you said, that it is
It
to
is
somewhat,
a thing.
but
The biggest part with that, and to my current knowledge on this, because I'm not like, say, like a registered dietitian where all I've done is nothing but nutritional work, but I do have some knowledge in this. To my knowledge, and I could be wrong, but that mainly is due to the type of amino acid profile that certain protein is made up of. So, whey protein has a high percentile ratio of total amino acids. That the amino acids, it's what protein is made up of. So you can look at different forms of protein sources, like you can have soy protein.
What's the one, like casein protein?
Casein is a form from dairy. It's a slower digesting protein.
Yeah, I used to eat that one before bed. That's what like my buddy would tell me to do.
So real quick, as a little side note, Greek yogurt is a fantastic pre-bed snack because it has both whey and casein protein in it. Greek yogurt has a high protein content per its weight as well. So as long as you can have dairy, it's really useful to eat that before bed because the whey protein digests quickly. Casein protein also from dairy, and actually if you open up a Greek yogurt, it'll actually be like that clear little liquid that's on top of the yogurt. That's actually the casein protein. So you mix that in. Don't dump that out.
Yeah, no, I never do. I always keep that in. Yeah. I just take the shot, throw the rest of the yogurt away.
So we'll stick with the whey protein as an example, and then I'll actually use soy protein. So it'd be very useful if I have my textbook in front of me, but I'm pretty sure the whey protein has 18 or 19 of the 23 essential amino acids that your body's made up of. So break that down, turn that into a percentage. It's about how efficient the protein is that you actually take. You take a scoop of protein.
Interesting.
Yeah, you take a scoop of protein, and you may have 24 grams of protein. That's kind of common, like 23 to 24 grams of protein in a scoop, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Kind of common. That's a whey protein. Digests quickly. It's simple. It's effective. Has 18 or 19 of the 23 amino acids. Soy protein has, I think it's 11. I could be wrong on that,
half.
But I know it's about half. It's much less efficient.
Yeah.
And the other thing you got to consider as well is not just in terms of efficiency of digesting, but you need all 23 forms of amino acids if you want proper like rebuilding your muscle, being in an anabolic state of rebuilding broken down muscle fibers.
Yeah.
You need to have all 23. So you have to have a diverse.
That's where like these vegan guys, like that vegan gains guy and shit, like that. That's where like they have to take like the extra supplements and stuff.
Yeah, they need all the extra so you can take specific amino acid supplements. They make they make like a bulk container that it has the amino acids that you often are deficient in if you're just eating a vegan diet. You can take a scoop of that, and that kind of helps out with them a lot.
I remember I had like pill form of that. Like there was like a whole pack of like a bunch of like, I don't remember. My buddy gave me like the supplements. Pretty sure it wasn't Peds, dude. Like, but like he got it at GNC, and he gave me them. And dude, like I peed and it was like neon green. I'm like, I'm not taking these anymore, bro. I don't know what the fuck's going on.
So you can take them, but like so vegans, and even some vegetarians, depending on how strict you are in your vegetarianism. They need to take an additional supplement of amino acids in order to make up the rest of those amino acids that they need in order to remain anabolic, as well as like
what is it, anabolic, and what's the other one?
So catabolic.
Catabolic.
Is catabolic cannabolic?
Cannabolic.
No, I'm lost.
Damn.
I'm blaming it's 10 o'clock at night. I'm blaming it on that. So you need all those amino acids, and if you're deficient, and if say you only take a soy protein, you're only getting those 11 amino acids out of the 23 you need. Something in your body, some part that, say, it may not even be a muscle, it may be the meniscus in your knee, right? That we'll just use that example. I don't know if that's the case, just off the top of my head. If that's deficient in that amino acid in rebuilding itself, then you can start having issues of degradation. That's where that
chronic shit comes in.
Even if you're,
dude.
It takes a long period of time because, like you said, chronic. It takes an extended period of time, but you're deficient in it, so through that long period of time, So that's where, like, in my pre-workout, I'll take a collagen peptide powder. Peptide, not PED. It's from a collagen, so it's taken from cow bone. But it has an amino acid profile seen heavily. It's the closest one that we have so far that we can actually take as of now. That reasonably takes. So it mixes, it dissolves into liquid. I think they have them in pill form, but I just take it in a liquid. Shown with studies that if you take it about an hour before training, it's the most efficient time to take it. And as long as you have vitamin C in your body, it's efficient to digest and absorb into. But collagen peptides. There's 3 different types of collagen in your body. Collagen peptides is type 1 and 3. It does. A lot of people will take it for the health reasons of like skin, nails, hair. I take it as an athlete for meniscus, overall just cartilage, collagenous tissue. So meniscus, the discs in your spine, the tendons that go from muscle to bone, the ligaments. Yeah. So
that's crazy.
Yeah,
dude.
A lot of studies have done like the cross-sectional area of even like your quad. They've done it of the ACL after people have had ACL tears, and just also regular healthy people of them taking it. They've did the same exercise program, but after taking it for multiple weeks, you'll start to see a difference in the cross-sectional area. So like the circumference of a certain muscle, or if we stick with the ACL and the knee, you'll see that start to increase. The participants did the same exact workout program, but one group took a placebo, basically dextrose, just a sugar powder.
Yeah.
The other group did collagen, and there have been multiple studies of this. But what it'll do is think of it like this. Think of you have a sponge and also like a washcloth in a 5-gallon bucket of water. How we'll go off of like the tendon, say like your quadricep tendon, or think of like your ACL in your knee, and then that'll be like the washcloth in the bucket, and then your meniscus in your knee, think of it as a sponge. And what happens is you take this collagen peptide about an hour before you train, and it's shown to get absorbed and be placed in what's called the extracellular fluid. This is the fluid around the cells in your body, whether it be muscle, like the joint capsule, any really all the fluid in your body, but it'll place them in more so in a heavier quantity in specific parts. So if we stick to the knee, when you take this collagen peptide, think about putting this powder in a 5-gallon bucket of water with your rag and your sponge. When you say do a squat or something where you're loading weight on your body, having an axial load, and it squishes the meniscus, think of that. You have your hand in the bucket holding the sponge under the water. You put the powder in, you kind of mix it up. You squeeze the sponge, it squeezes all the old fluid out. You let go, it'll now soak up the fluid that has the powder in it. Same thing with your quadricep tendon. When you're doing a squat, you're pulling on it, or your ACL, you can be pulling on it, creating tension. It gets pulled like a washcloth that wrings it out, and then when you release it in the bucket, it'll soak it back up.
That makes
you do
sense.
that repetitively,
Yeah.
it's going to push out all the old fluid that doesn't have the collagen peptide. Or what ends up happening is when you digest that, it's the ratio that has the closest ratio of amino acids for collagenous tissue. So then when you do that exercising for extended periods of time, basically more than 6 weeks, ideally 12 plus weeks, you then see over that time period an increase in its overall tensile strength, like how much force it can resist, as well as its overall size. Meniscus, the big one was ACLs, because it's very now useful to do that with like ACL tears coming back from surgery. Doing that a few months after you've had the surgery and you're in your rehabilitation, highly recommend to do that. I do it as a preventative maintenance. I've had partial quadricep tendon tears. Like I partially tore my left quadricep tendon from the quadricep to the patella right here when I was at the 2018 World Championships. I did it like the day prior.
Damn.
And I had to compete on it. Did not have a good competition. And that was my first World Championships, like senior level, like the level before the Olympics. So did not have a good competition there.
Yeah.
Literally got back that same day I went to PT to begin with.
Damn.
And I mean,
So
I've had
what
many issues with that.
Yeah.
And since being a little bit more on top of like preventative exercises, as well as I contribute and attribute taking the collagen on a very consistent basis, I think it helps with that too.
For sure. Like the recovery.
Yeah.
What are some like natural foods you can eat to give yourself this stuff? Like what's a really solid like couple foods to eat for like recovery?
So I think overall eating foods, you got to focus more so on just getting the right amount of protein and just having a diverse profile of proteins you're eating, because ultimately you'll get all these amino acids. Collagen peptides are not expensive to get. I take one from Custom Collagen. I know Earthfed Muscle, the company that my coach actually owns. Just Custom Collagen is cheaper, and I'm 24 and have my own house and car and bills to pay, so I have to get slightly more inexpensive supplements.
Yeah.
But custom collagen, I buy a 210 servings, and you only need to take one a day. So it's, what is that, 7 months worth? I buy on Amazon for like $70. I think it's like less than a quarter a serving, and it's technically 10 grams of protein. I'd have to look into where I can get more collagen from. I know, like, I think fatty fishes have a little bit to it. But I could be wrong on that. But honestly, just have a diverse portfolio of the protein you're eating throughout the week should have that. I just know that having a collagen peptide supplement itself is just the easiest way to get it in. You just throw it in your pre-workout if you take pre-workout like I do.
Yeah.
You drink it about an hour or so anyways before you start working out, an hour to half an hour before. I know some people just bang it down like while you get to the gym, but
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately you'll probably still be lifting anyways when that starts getting in.
Yeah.
My recommendation is to get it if you're interested in it.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
get it.
yeah.
You don't have to buy 210 servings of it. You can buy like I think it's like a 100 serving for like
Yeah.
$35 or something
That's
like that.
cool.
So it'll last you still 3 months. You
Yeah.
only need to take one a day. So in terms of collagen itself, I'd have to look into exactly what types of food may have more of it. I think you can like make bone broth with actual cow bones. Like you can go get like the femur bone at like
Yeah.
a butcher.
So
throw it in
yeah,
some,
I'm like kind
make
of
a
wondering
stew.
like when you
I
said
know you
bone
can do
broth,
that. I
I'm
know you
wondering
can
like
do
is there
that.
like soups you can get that would have
There
it?
might be some.
Yeah.
I don't know off the top of my head. That's something
Yeah.
I'd have to look into. I'd be interested in doing that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you are interested in something like that, I would look into getting the collagen peptide powder. Like I said, they're not expensive. I
Yeah.
think it's one of the few supplements that I take almost religiously.
Yeah.
That with a little bit of creatine. Honestly, more so the creatine just for the brain health.
Creatine's good for your brain?
Yeah, a lot of
What?
studies have shown that if you have a traumatic brain injury, those who have concussions, really helpful. So very helpful for like just any form of mixed martial arts, boxing as well.
That's
Wrestlers,
crazy.
NFL players, very useful to take if you have creatine in your system. Dramatically reduces traumatic brain injuries as well as CTE later in life.
Mhm.
Those who are in like horrible car accidents, motorcycle accidents, have been given creatine. They've done like meta-analysis studies on people who were on creatine, who were in like critical car accidents, who had TBIs, and they found they had a higher chance of recovery to a normal extent and dramatically quicker than those who were not on it. You could give them creatine, just like a standard creatine monohydrate, when they were like even like in a coma, and they started to come out of the coma quicker and had a higher likelihood of recovering
That's
to a greater
crazy,
extent.
dude.
Yeah. So creatine, incredibly cheap supplement. Very well studied, not just for performance in terms of a power-based performance. It's really where it's most useful.
Yeah.
For the creatine phosphate system, and that's more explosive plyometric type training or strength training, but very useful. You can take it in a very low dose, but for brain injuries and even to prevent it if you have issues. But yeah, anyone who does any form of MMA, boxing, anything like that, even wrestling, football, in my opinion, should be taking creatine. So I take creatine, collagen. I take a multivitamin, honestly just a cheap one from Walmart. I could take an expensive one that has a higher efficiency of absorption with better quality, or I could take one that from Walmart that gives me a half a year's worth of pills in a $5 pill, and the efficiency may not be as great, but I haven't gotten popped from anything in it when I got tested by USADA on multiple occasions, so I know there's nothing bad in it.
Yeah.
And at least I'm getting something in there. And I take a zinc magnesium for sleeping as well because it's really helpful for recovery.
That's cool.
If I want to, I'll take a little fish oil as well. Same thing with the DHA and the EPA in it, really useful for brain health. But also the omega-3s and 6s. There's some 9s in there too, but take like a high EPA DHA. That's the one thing that I recommend spending a little extra money on is a good fish oil. So very useful for brain recovery and just overall performance as well. It's also, you got to be careful. Fish oil is also a natural blood thinner. So if you're in say like you're a police officer, they actually recommend not taking fish oil because it's a blood thinner if you get shot.
Yeah.
There's a higher
bleed
likelihood of,
out.
so like I had meniscal debridement when I was 16 years old. I had a partially torn meniscus in my right knee. Also had one in my left knee, but it was on the lateral aspect of the horn, so it was in a blood supplied area. Did not need surgery on that one. But on my right knee, it was in deeper. Had to get surgery to kind of clean it up. I told them I was taking fish oil, and they told me I had to stop taking it for about 2 weeks before I had the surgery, because they cut you open and it thins your blood. So
I mainly eat fish, so I wonder if like just
I don't think you would need to take it.
Yeah.
I think you
yeah,
should
I don't need fish
I think you
oil,
should be pretty.
Yeah.
If you eat fish on a regular basis, you should be pretty
like
good on
every
that.
day.
Yeah, you should be pretty good on that then.
Yeah, that's cool to think about. So, man, the diet conversation is pretty interesting. So let me ask you this: like, you had a great like season. You go to your competition, you win. What's your cheat meal?
Oh God.
Money is no
so
object.
Here's the thing. So I'll like cut weight, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have all these different cheat meals, or all this stuff when I get back, and then by the time that you rehydrate, you compete and you're done, you're like, I don't really want to eat anything, and then you get back and you're like, I mean, that's me personally. I'm like, I don't want to do all this. What I do is like, we'll have like some snacks in the house that I really probably shouldn't be eating, but I'll have a little bit of them. Last night we kind of cheated a bit. We went to Walmart and we bought a whole pack of like cookies.
Yeah.
So like we had some cookies, and like we'll have some like tortilla chips with like some queso or something like that.
Yeah.
Or like an
So
ice
you
cream.
just hit it
I
with
like
the
ice
snack
cream.
attack.
I
Yes,
love-
ice cream.
I
Yeah.
like baked goods. My phone's nickname is Muffin Man because I love muffins.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll have a muffin or something
That's
like
funny.
that. Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
How we can maybe we can walk away from the diet stuff, but I wanted to ask you like last thing, like how often do you consume fast food, and how often do you recommend a person consumes fast food, like the average person?
Ideally, you shouldn't consume fast food unless it's something like Chick-fil-A, or even at McDonald's they do have like grilled chicken items. I just think deep fried things aren't really the best for you. Just because it's a really unhealthy form of fat that's on the outside of it. I mean, we have Wawa here in PA and on the East Coast a bit. We'll get something from Wawa every once in a while. The real main things that we get at a fast food restaurant, which is primarily Wawa, will be like a drink of some kind. I don't really get much food from fast food anymore.
Yeah. I get like the tuna sandwich at Wawa. That's my go-to.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of mayonnaise in it.
Yeah.
So you get a lot of fat.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah,
that's
man.
good, right?
Maybe it's good for you.
Yeah.
I'm
a thin boy.
But yeah, as long as you're active, man.
Yeah.
But
exactly. Yeah, I think that's the most important thing.
If I get a food from Wawa, it'll probably be like a grilled chicken hoagie of some form.
Nice.
I mean, it's helpful that being in a weight class sport and you gotta cut weight a little bit, that it's nice that I like chicken.
Yeah.
So it's a very lean protein.
Yeah.
So I'm always open to eat some form of it. It's been a while since I've had like anything other than that in terms of fast food. Like we'll go to like some sit down restaurants. I guess I've had Chipotle like a month ago. Maybe.
You don't think Chipotle is healthy?
I don't. No, I'm saying, so I would count that as fast food because it's quick, but I wouldn't count it as unhealthy unless you make
usually
it unhealthy.
Like how I define it is like fast food is like Burger King, McDonald's.
Okay.
And then like Chipotle, Moe's, I consider that rapidly prepared cuisine.
Okay. I think that's a good way to describe it. Okay. So in terms of fast, do you count Wawa as fast food, or is that a rapidly?
It's rapidly prepared cuisine.
Then
but you can fuck it up and get the mozz sticks.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Could. In that sense, I haven't had a fast food in quite some time. I've had your rapidly prepared cuisine. Yeah.
My man.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. All right, man. Yo, so let's talk a little bit about like the competition aspect. I kind of want to talk about like your mindset and stuff like that. So I've never done a weightlifting competition, but I've seen a lot of videos of like, you know, the guys like getting ready, and then like you have to kind of stand there and wait until they say, all right, go. Like it's time to go.
Yeah.
For me, I feel like that would fuck me up because every time I've hit a PR, I'm in my headphones waiting for like the bass to drop on the song and stuff like that. So like, you know, multi-part question, like how do you handle that sort of thing? And also like, what's your weightlifting playlist look like?
Oh, okay. So we'll do the weightlifting playlist quick. It's got a lot of rap and rock in it.
Yeah.
At the same
Okay.
time.
Cool.
Okay. So like
You
hip-hop.
listen to like some DMX.
There's some DMX.
DMX
in it.
belongs
so there's,
there, yeah.
There's some hip hop, some rap, and then some different types of rock in it. It can vary between like DMX, a little bit more old school type rap, all the way up to more like today's type of rap artist. I'm not a fan of like today's hip hop, but I got like one or two like what is his name, Tekashi 69 in there.
Nice.
What else we got in there? I like NF. He's like a more current rapper.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of his. But I mean, I could pull it up real quick just to kind of just to jog my memory.
Yeah, for
Because I have
sure.
the comp playlist.
Do you have a PR song? Like, is there a song?
It varies dramatically.
Yeah? Really?
Yeah.
For me, dude, I have 2 songs. If I'm gonna max out, it's gonna be one of these 2.
What is it?
One of them is "Angels with Dirty Faces" by Sum 41.
Okay.
And the other one is "When Two Are One" by Atreyu.
Okay.
And they're not necessarily like the most banger ass songs, but something about them speaks to the dragon that lives in there.
Okay.
And like it wakes it up.
So I'll go through some of the artists quick. I have NF, AC/DC, Disturbed, 69, Kendrick Lamar, Five Finger Death Punch.
That's definitely all stuff that I would like expect to hear at like Warhouse Gym. Like
I have
sure.
some. I got like Cult of Personality in there from Living Color.
That's
I'm
a good
big
one,
fan of
dude.
that one. A little Saliva, Drake. What else?
What Drake
Meek Mill,
song? What Drake
Eminem.
song slaps hard enough for you to lift to it? I want to know that one.
There's not a ton that slap hard enough. Let's see.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Energy's
Drake's the last
in
one I could
there.
think of.
Started from the bottom, 0 to 100. I mean, that's
Okay.
earlier in the playlist when I put him in like probably 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Pop Smoke is a big one recently that I've been a fan of. Shine Down is in there. A little Slipknot. Rage Against the Machine.
Oh, Rage is probably good.
Knife Talk from Drake recently.
Nice.
Wants and Needs. Money in the Grave. Pop Smoke is a big one recently that I've gotten into.
It's just hitting.
They have
the
some
spot.
good beats.
It's hitting
Yeah,
the spot
yeah.
for you. Nice, man.
But going back to the mindset. So you brought on a few.
Nothing. No
Okay.
questions. Just talking.
I had so a few things in there. You mentioned headphones, and then you
Yeah.
also mentioned being told you got to go.
Yeah.
So in the sport of weightlifting, you have a 1-minute clock from the time that they put the weight on the bar until the time that you have to start the lift. Unless you're following yourself, and then you get 2 minutes.
Following yourself.
So say you're the last one to go, but you're not like, you have 3 attempts in the snatch, 3 attempts in the clean and jerk on the platform to hit your best of each. And then you put your 2 best together and make that your total. So say you're at the end of the competition, you're one of the better clean and jerkers, and you're the last athlete to go, but you still have 2 of your attempts left. You do your second attempt, you're the only one left to go, and you still want to take your 3rd attempt. So you're following yourself. You get 2 minutes on the clock they'll have to put the new weights on, and as they put the weights on, they stop the clock, so you kind of get a little bit more time.
Yeah. Interesting.
But if you're following someone else, so say someone else goes and then you go,
yeah,
they may still need to put the new weights on, or maybe you're doing the same weight as them. Loaders will go onto the platform, retighten the bar down, make sure that everything's nice and snug, and then get off. While the loaders are on the bar, either tightening them down or putting new weights on for you, the clock stops. But ultimately, you have a minute or 2 minutes if you're following yourself to start pulling on the barbell. Technically to get it past your knee, but we'll just say start pulling on the barbell. As I get closer to competition in my training, I'll start working on taking my headphones out and training without music.
Interesting.
Now, I recently got AirPod Pros, so I can like listen to one in, one out. I hit the microphone. Or I can start listening to it as a warm up and then take them out to lift. What I do primarily when I'm competing is with the AirPod Pros now, I can actually have them turned to a setting where it's not noise canceling. It actually pulls audio in and magnifies sounds from outside. So my coach, you'll have a coach. You should have a coach when you're competing, ideally. That's going up to there's a table that will declare what weight you're going to take. You can change that around. Coaches do it all the time when they shuffle certain weights around. They'll declare one weight, and then it messes with another athlete on purpose. Then the other coach of that athlete will declare a weight, and it kind of messes with me, and they'll go back and forth. There's a lot of tactics you can do. When you get deep into it, it's sophisticated. There's a lot of shady stuff you can do to each other that can kind of screw over another athlete.
Like how?
And
Like
they'll do it.
Like declaring a weight.
So
like how does
so
that
let's
fuck
do
with...
so let's do it this way. So you can burn someone's clock. So what that means is it'll take me a minute here to get into it, but
yeah, take your time. Take your time. This is weird. Like,
yeah.
You need to explain it.
So,
now.
say you take your first attempt. And we'll just call it 100 kilograms on the snatch. You take your first attempt, and then, you want to go 105 kilograms next. There is another athlete who has already taken an attempt at 99 kilograms. So they would have gone first because it only ascends in weight. It never descends in weight. It'll either stay the same or go up in weight. So they took 99 kilos. So they were the first athlete to go. Then you took 100 kilos. But you both are declaring 105 kilos to take on your second attempt. Or how can I do this? I'm trying to think how I can do this off the top of my head. You want to take the same weight. And
So wait. So let's say we're competing, right?
Yes.
Let's say I hit the 105 kilos. You can't match me. You need to beat me.
No, I can. I can
Okay.
match you if I want to. Trying to think how I can do this off the top of my head. Okay, one of us misses. So say you take 105 and you miss. And instead of going up in weight, you want to take 105 again for your last attempt to just try and hit that weight. I declare 105 as well. Now, you had previously already done, you were the first one to lift, so then it would go to me, for me to attempt 105, because that'll be my second attempt. You've done your second attempt, you missed 105. Now I go 105 for my second attempt. I want to screw you over, and I go, it comes to my clock, because if you were to follow yourself like we previously said, you would get 2 minutes of rest before you then have to go back out and take it again. I can burn your clock by going, okay, I would then be taking the 105 before you take your third attempt again at 105 to try and hit it successfully. So I can let the clock switch over to me quickly, and then I quick declare 106. And then it immediately switches back to you. So now instead of you following yourself and having 2 minutes, I burnt your clock by going, I took away your 2 minutes, and now you only have 1 minute. So it's kind of, so if you...
and you did it fast.
I did it quickly.
Yeah.
I quickly declared. So
Yeah.
it immediately went to me. I immediately put down 106. So now I
it's
bumped
back
up.
on the guy.
And because it only goes up in weight or stays the same, you would have still declared 105. So you now still have to take 105. So instead of having 2 minutes on your clock, it went from, okay, coming to me, quick to declare 106, goes back to you at 105. So instead of having 2 minutes on your clock, theoretically you may have only had 1 minute and 5 seconds. So now you have to go out quickly to go do it again. So that's what burning your clock is.
Yeah.
Coaches will do it to other athletes all the time.
Yeah.
To screw with them.
That's fucked
I mean,
up.
it's part of the game.
Yeah.
You just know that, a coach may, and you guys may be really good friends with each other, but if you're competitors, you're competitors. So, like,
Yeah.
I have a teammate. His name's Jake Horst. He's also going to Pan Ams with me. I declined my spot on the world team this year, and therefore he's taking my spot on the world team. We're in the same weight class. We have the same coach. We'll go compete at the same national level competitions.
So why did you let him take it?
So I didn't necessarily I did let him take it. My coach and I decided not to do Worlds because it was a month after Pan Ams.
Okay.
Yeah,
I see.
and I didn't feel like traveling to the Ukraine and having a complete 12-hour time zone switch a month after I already competed.
For Ecuador, right?
After Ecuador. I mean, it'd be fun to go to the World Championships in Ukraine.
Yeah.
Because it's
always
also
another
free
year.
travel.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it wouldn't do anything for me to try to make the Olympics this year. There's a system that you have to go to a certain amount of international competitions in total. It's not part of that system. It's too far out, so it wouldn't matter for the Olympics. As well as traveling that far for that long takes a lot out of you physically and mentally, as well as having to cut that often after already cutting for a competition a month prior takes a lot out of you. So we're going to go do Pan Ams. It's in Ecuador, so it's only a 1 hour time zone change. I'm only there from Monday through Friday, and then I come back, and then I won't need to go to Ukraine. I'll train through it. So if you're looking at a competition like the World Championships, it can really take a full month out of your training program, and a month can, in reality, be a ton of improvement for you. So as opposed to it takes a full month out of you, draining you, you don't get that opportunity to improve, as opposed to I could just focus on an international competition of Pan Ams and then train the rest of the way through, train through Worlds, not go there, and just stay at home. Michaela, my wife, decided she wanted to get back into competing. She hasn't competed in 2 years, but she decided to do what's called the AO Finals. It's like the last national level competition for weightlifting, and it's in Denver, Colorado this year. So she just signed up to go do it. I might go with her to do it as well and just train through it. I won't compete as a 67. I'll compete as the next weight class up, so I don't have to cut weight or anything, and I'll just do it for fun. I'll train through it. I'm not going to taper or anything for it. I won't cut weight. I might just fly there mainly to support her, but just have fun with it.
Yeah, while you're there, may as well.
Might as well do it,
Dude,
yeah.
I've done that in
Exactly.
Jiu-Jitsu, like, already.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck, well,
So,
it's like you get invited. It's like, oh, well, when you put it that way,
yeah,
I can't
exactly.
not go. Yeah.
So, like, I could do that, or I could go travel on a 14-hour flight in a 12-hour time zone change, be there for 2 weeks of my time, cut weight, have to compete on the World Championship stage. It's a lot of fun. It's crazy to think it. You know, if you would have asked me 4 years ago, would I be declining a senior world championship spot, and go, no, you're crazy. But you got to look at it tactically, and it just makes sense for me not to do that at the moment in time. Just to focus on Pan Ams and then focus on training through and having a better year next year than I could have this year.
Yeah.
So that's how we got to look at it. And my goal is hopefully make 2024 Olympics in Paris, but my real main goal is 2028 in LA. I'd love to potentially retire there. And kind of like in wrestling, you'll take your shoes off, leave them in the circle. In weightlifting, you'll take your shoes off, leave them on the platform to designate or to show you're retiring from the sport. And LA, Los Angeles I'll be 32 at the time. That's about the time that men start to taper down in their overall performance for weightlifting. We do have some weightlifters that are like in their later 30s that are still doing well. So we'll see how I feel when I get there. I'd love to have kids by that time. And we'll just have to see where I'm at in life if I want to continue or not with that at that point. But as of now, it looks like I wouldn't want to retire there. So what better way to retire than retiring in your home country, competing for your home country in the sport that you've been in for a decade and a half at that point. I think it'd be cool to do. So the real goal is 2028. I mean, we're 7 years away from there. So that's a process. I'm not looking at this, I'm competing in Ecuador. There's a reason why I said no to representing the USA on the World Championship stage, literally what's considered the stage before the Olympics in our sport. There's a reason why I declined that for in 2 months from now, because I'm not looking at 2 months from now. I'm looking at 3 years from now. I'm looking at 7 years from now is the real goal. So I gotta keep that mindset in it.
It's cool that you have such a strategic mind in that way, because people can get so tunnel visioned in on like the next things and everything. That's awesome, man. Thank you for sharing that. It's a nice look at like the way you go about competition and how we, are similar and different in different capacities there. Do you want to talk a little bit about like what got you into studying sports science and stuff? Like, where did you go to school? How did you decide you wanted to get a master's degree and everything like that?
So I originally we have the local University of Alvernia to us here. And I originally went there thinking I was going to be a doctor in physical therapy. And so what they did is they had an accelerated doctorate degree, 6-year degree actually, 3+3 program, 3 years of healthcare science of an undergrad, 3 years of the doctorate in physical therapy. So I was put into that, and in the first semester, I realized, well, the healthcare science isn't what I want to do. It would be more of like a management type of thing, just in a healthcare career. I wanted to be more hands-on physical, so then I switched to my undergrad is in athletic training. So not like sports performance, but like emergency response, orthopedic care and assessments. We work with physical therapists, orthopedic surgeons, things of that nature, is what we work with. You see in the NFL, someone gets hurt, someone runs out on the field. They're oftentimes known for wearing their khakis or something like that. We're not a water boy. We are emergency response, orthopedic assessments, rehabilitation after surgery, things like that. That's what I then decided to change to, where I met Sam Diefenbacher, good buddy, mutual friend.
Hell yeah.
And So it went from there. It changed it from a 3+3, it would have been a 4+3 at that point, but you learned a lot of the skills you'd be then applying into physical therapy. So I figured it'd be fine. And come the end of my bachelor's degree, if I still wanted to do PT, I could. Well, come the end, I didn't really want to do it anymore. I kind of changed my scope a little bit, but I didn't want to have a degree specifically meant for one specific profession in sports. I wanted a little bit of a broader, more general type of degree that I could then move into other things if I wanted to. So I went. Technically, it was an online, but the end of it was a 300. I think it was a 300-hour internship, and I did that in actually a physical therapy program. But it was an online master's, sports science and rehabilitation through Logan University. They are the #2 chiropractic school in America. They have they have an in-person then obviously to do that. But what they did was, years ago, they had their doctorate in chiropractic program, and they decided they wanted to create good online courses that their chiropractic students could take. So the chiropractic students could spend as much time in their clinicals as they could, and then in their free time when they weren't in the clinical setting, they didn't have to go to an in-person class. So all courses that they could take that weren't necessary to be in person, they had online versions of. So they had it since like the early 2010s area. So they've had it almost for a decade now.
Yeah.
So they have really good online programs in the sports sciences, nutrition, dietitian, Iowa sports science. They have many other ones too. So I signed up for that. Very well-known school in that sense. So
Yeah.
great online courses. I loved that. I should say I loved the courses they had to offer. I actually was the valedictorian of my master's degree course. I finished out with a 4.0. I was on honor roll. Actually, my entire education between freshman year of undergrad until my last semester of master's degree, I was on the dean's list the entire time. So I went like, I forget what it is, 14 for 14 out of all my semesters.
Yeah, nice.
For dean's list and valedictorian of my master's course. So I wanted to do, like I said, a degree that kind of opened it up a little bit more. I got my CSCS certification when I was still in undergrad, so I could do like personal training, but for sports performance reasons. So from there, I got a profession in athletic training, worked for Penn State, St. Joseph Hospital here in Reading for a year, then switched over to St. Luke's Health Network.
Yeah.
I was young in the profession in terms of how many professional years I've done it, but I only was technically a professional athletic trainer. My first year, COVID hit. We worked the front line for a bit. I helped swab patients. I then switched over to St. Luke's last year. Was in a school setting at least, and then another wave of COVID hit, and then they moved me to an urgent care, and I swabbed COVID patients for 3 months, 6 to 8 hours a day. And when it got really busy, I didn't sit down once. I'd swab like 60 to 80 patients a day for COVID and doing strep throat tests and all that stuff at the same time. So when that started to die back down in February, I went back to the school setting until I basically just got let go from my job. We'll talk about it. I didn't get vaccinated. For personal reasons. And St. Luke's and other health networks in the area mandated the vaccine all at the same time. So I got let go from there because I held what my belief was of medical autonomy, not being forced or coerced into something that I personally didn't want. And anecdotally, I know of multiple people who have had issues, whether it be who have died after, just a day or two after getting the vaccine, or who got their Guillain-Barré syndrome was triggered weeks after getting the vaccine. That's an autoimmune disease similar to multiple sclerosis. It can be triggered by some vaccines.
That's the shit that like fucks up your like nervous system.
Part of it, yeah. So, and I know someone personally. I've talked to her almost every single day. Hers was triggered. Blood work done that tested positive for an autoimmune disease after, and it can be triggered by things. So you can have it, but not have it triggered to actually become symptomatic with it.
Yeah.
And that was her case. And Guillain-Barré syndrome was actually something that was noted to be contraindicated to get the vaccine. But who's
what's the
testing
one?
for
Bell's palsy that like fucks your face up or something.
That's another one.
I've heard of that happening. Like actually, like I have a cousin that's she's a veterinarian. Like she's a doctor that fixes animals or whatever. I don't know how that works. But she told me a story about how she got a vaccine back in the day or some kind of shot or something that caused that, but it healed.
Yeah.
And she was telling me that it's actually a common thing. Like vaccines can, like all sorts of vaccines can have a lot of crazy reactions. And yeah, I mean, I didn't get the vaccine either, but you know, I got the virus, and I think in my experience, getting sick from something is probably the most effective way to get immunity. Like I hate taking medicines in general, dude.
Yeah.
You have to like be pounding on my head. They make me take ibuprofen, dude.
A natural immunity is so far what we've seen always far superior than a vaccination is. I mean, I know this will be going up on YouTube, so I don't want to get too much into. I'll keep things like anecdotally, things in my personal experience, because then you can't get fact checked and taken down or suspended for that because they're anecdotal. I can only attest to my personal experiences and in my beliefs. I personally believe that a mandate of a vaccine, whether good or bad, I mean, I think the vaccine is worth it for people who are at risk. Absolutely. Those whose chance of getting it and getting a terrible reaction to vaccine, to COVID itself, or who are at a higher risk with comorbidities, you got to look at the pros and cons and the risk factor of getting the vaccine, and if it's much more worth getting it and taking the chance of potentially having an adverse reaction, I think that there's a very good reason to take it. In my case, I'm 24 years old, in phenomenal shape. And I mean, I just got COVID 3 weeks ago. I mean, I didn't really want to take like I told you earlier, I didn't really want to take the PCR test, but for the reason of people forcing mandates, and I don't know how far this will go. I wanted to get the PCR test. I figured if I have the virus, I might as well get tested for it, just to at least show proof that I had it and recovered from it. So my wife and I tested positive for it, so at least we have it now. I mean, we both recovered. Obviously I'm not sick.
Yeah.
And I even took the at-home antigen test, and it came back negative after having it for 12 days. So it wasn't the worst thing in the world. I've been far sicker from it. It sucked. I mean, you feel run down, you get little body aches, at least in my sense. I mean, I wouldn't want to do it on a daily basis, but it wasn't the worst thing I had. But I know some people can have it terribly, and people die from it. It truly do die from it. So, you know, like I said, in my case, I would have a greater, even before having COVID, I had a greater chance of having adverse reactions to the vaccine than I would having a serious effect from getting COVID itself or potentially dying from it. So
why is that? Like, what do you think is in the vaccine that the virus? Like, I'm interested in like why you think that.
So we've seen things in terms of like the actual spike protein itself causing issues.
Yeah, I'm planning on having a pretty knowledgeable guy on this topic, like a genetic engineer.
Yes.
Like by his profession, and he's gonna in previous conversations that I had with him, he told me about like the spike protein briefly and stuff. So I won't have you explain it to me, but
I mean, honestly, so like my education is in sports science. I try and stay up on all this stuff as best I can.
Of course.
Now, I don't necessarily say I know exactly what would be in the vaccine that could cause all these issues. All I know is that I'd much rather feel sick for 10 days, which is what ultimately happened, and know I have a stronger immunity to it, both stronger in terms of fighting it off in the short term and long-term antibodies. It's a SARS virus. And what we've seen with SARS back in the early 2000s, what we can see now is those who had a SARS virus back then, they still have strong antibodies to the same virus today. So we've seen it for about 2 decades that they retain their antibodies. Vaccine, they already need boosters after people getting it after just 6 months. They're already on their 3rd boosters. So I'd rather have the virus
That is
once.
interesting to
Yeah.
think about.
So I'd rather have the virus and
On
have
the
natural
news, weren't they
immunity.
saying like getting the virus isn't as good as the like vaccine though? Like I'm not trying to like go conspiracy mode right
Yeah.
now either, but I
We
feel
can
like
get
I've
into
heard that.
stuff,
Yeah, I
but
mean we could, but like I swear, like what you just explained is
what
definitely
news
like
outlets
I don't
are
know, man.
and what is their agenda?
I don't exactly, dude.
So
Like I don't watch the news, man. Like I am the news for a lot of
yeah,
people. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So I ask the smartest people I know these questions,
yeah.
and then I make my own decisions after that.
All I know is at the moment, and I've also heard a lot of anecdotal stories, especially with women, it really screwing up their menstrual cycle. We don't have kids yet, and we want kids in the near
Yeah.
future. In 2 to 3 years, we really want to start. We wanted to have our first kid when we were 26. We're both young, but young 24. So we wanted to push off. I wanted longer term studies, and everyone I talked to was like, who are advocates for the vaccine and for me getting it. They'd be like, well, long term studies are going to be years, if not a decade. I'm totally cool with that. If I get the virus, I know I'll have a natural immunity to it, and here I have it.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of like I said to you earlier. It was ironically funny because my first symptoms of it were the day my last day of employment with St. Luke's.
Yeah.
Was the day I first got the symptoms of it.
That's funny.
Yeah, they had moved
Irony.
me to another school for my last 2 weeks when I was there just to try and make things a little easier. And at that school, they had multiple cases of COVID on their football team. So I know I got it from them. It took about 3 days until the time that I kind of knew I was around those kids.
Yeah, for it to like incubate in your body and stuff. Yeah.
So yeah, I got the symptoms of COVID on my last employee day because I did not get vaccinated from that. So, and I technically can go back if I want to and work for them. My manager told me I left on good standings, and if my either my vaccine status changes or if I get COVID with a positive PCR test and then I am healthy then afterwards, they can rehire me. No, I'm not going back. I'm not gonna work for a company that's forcing what I think is a violation of Nuremberg Code. So and they're pushing against medical autonomy. So I don't like that. I don't like being told that I have to take a medical procedure. So we went real estate. Michaela decided to do the profession, change to this as a profession earlier in the year. She's absolutely killing it. And I eventually wanted to go to real estate just after we had kids because I could take advantage of their health insurance that they had there. Phenomenal health insurance. It was like $6 every paycheck for me to have the equivalent of like one of the best Capital Blue Cross insurances here. Incredibly cheap for us. So I wanted to take advantage of that. But, I looked at this as you're on a highway of life. The goal was to get off exit 4. Crash happened on exit 3, so you got to get off exit 2 and take a back road to get to the town that you would have gotten off at exit 4. So that's what this is. My end goal was to get into real estate anyways. It looks like a much more fun profession.
Yeah.
You put in the work. You're not always guaranteed a paycheck for every person that you work with, but if you put in a lot more work, you're going to get rewarded for it. I was in a salaried position. One of the last weeks I worked 62 hours that week. And I'm going to get the same paycheck, and no one really gives a shit about it.
Yeah,
so
I think that's bullshit, dude.
Yeah, so
I've heard horror stories of that in IT, but I was never treated that way at my old employer, which I'm grateful for. They did a lot of things right. I just didn't like where I ended up after they did too many moving around of departments and employees. And sometimes you get shuffled into the wrong boss. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, and for my transition over, it helped that Michaela. So I have 6 years of education and some student loans. Thankfully, I did not come away with a ton of student loans as some people do. I did it smart, but I still had to take out some loans. And with her average right now, she was doing more than double my salary in her first year.
That's
now,
awesome.
She's a fucking baller. So she works her ass off.
I saw. I walked into your house and she's over there working, grinding the
8:30 at night. She was still working. So she works really hard, but she was more than doubling my salary. And now she went to college and did gen eds, but she never finished with a degree, and I was totally fine with that as well. College isn't for everyone.
Yeah.
As long as you find a profession that you enjoy and that you're happy with, that's all you really need. As long as you can put food on the table.
It's crazy to hear someone with like a master's degree come at it so humbly, because I know some people like with bachelor's degree like, no, we're just cut from a different cloth. You went to college kind of thing.
So I worked.
There are so fucking many fields, dude,
Yeah.
that you don't need college for.
No, not
like
at
I'm
all.
telling my one friend right now that like he's an entrepreneur and he wants to like start with coding now. Like he's doing a lot of crypto stuff, and like he's like, dude, I just want to start like learning how to code. I'm like, dude, codeacademy.com is free, dude.
Yeah.
Don't go spending
to.
thousands on
and
a degree.
a lot of professions you can learn on the job and they'll pay you to do it too.
Hell yeah, dude.
So like,
IT is 100% that,
yeah.
dude.
So like, I mean, I worked with high schoolers for the past year, and a lot of them would talk about college, and they're like, I don't know if I would want to go to college. I'm like, hey man, you don't need to go to college. You can go to a trade school if you really want to. Like, but even if it like, so you're talking about more IT type stuff.
Yeah.
If you look at something, just always a simple profession to look at in this sense, but something like welding or construction, if you want to get in that, they often pay tremendously well, and you can learn on the job. You can walk up to some welding place and go, hey, I want to, I mean, it's probably got to be a little bigger, but you go, hey, I want to learn how to weld. I'll work for you. Teach me how to weld. I'll be your apprentice. I'll do the simple things, but just over time teach me how to do it. They'll pay you as an employee, and as you get more skills from them teaching you, they'll start paying you more, and you can get to the point when you can be earning $70,000 plus a year easy.
Yeah.
You go to a 2-year VOTEC school or something of the sort, and learn how to weld and come out immediately making $70,000 and doing a phenomenal job at your welding skills. So something like that. You don't have to.
I had a welder on. I want to show you something he made and gave me, because it's such a cool like show and tell thing.
Yeah. But yeah, so like, I'll let you try and find it, and I'll just talk a little bit more. Oh, cool. You got it right away. Oh, it's an old railroad pin?
Yeah, so John Naples, if you guys want to check out that episode of the podcast. John is a whole jack of all trades, man.
Okay,
that
is
guy,
it a bottle opener?
It is.
Yeah.
It's pretty sick. It looks like it came from where Mjolnir was made, Thor's hammer.
Okay.
Like that's what I say every time I look at that thing.
That's pretty cool.
It is very cool, dude.
Yeah.
Very well done.
But
yeah, dude, 100%, man. Like I'm a perfect example of this. Like, I basically run a film company now.
Yeah.
I didn't go to school for that at all. I just, you network with the right people. You start asking the right questions. You can turn a hobby into a career so easily now. I think the only fields really that like college makes a huge difference in anymore is like law and medical, man.
That's exactly what I say.
Yeah.
Unless you're going for law or medical, you more than likely don't need to go to college and spend all that money basically on a giant party. I hate when a lot of people go to colleges just to have a party for the experience. Okay, well, you're going to be coming out with basically a mortgage of a loan that's non-forgivable if you go bankrupt. Almost all of them are non-forgivable depending on how you take the loan out.
Yeah.
So you could lose your house and everything, but guess what? You still got to be paying off those student loans. Those will not let go from you. And you did it for what? To go to a party,
scam, yeah.
Drink some alcohol, smoke some weed,
yeah,
do some other fun stuff.
Exactly.
But like, I never went to a party when I was. Well, it just wasn't my personality. You can if you want to, but I don't think spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to go to a party for 4 years is my cup of tea.
Yeah.
And a lot of people do that just because they think it's a 4-year vacation, basically.
Yeah.
And then they all complain about having to take tests with it, too.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, buddy.
Yeah, come on, dude.
Yeah.
So we got a comment from somebody here. They're saying that they have an employer that required flu shots, and they were given by the employer. And he's asking, do you guys not believe in getting flu shots either? So I'll start with mine, and then you can go. So I was in the military. I got shots for stuff I don't even know what I got.
Yeah.
It's not about not like I'm not anti-vaccine. I'm not an anti-vax or anything like that. I just personally feel like the same thing I said earlier. I don't like taking any medication. Like, if I can get anything the natural way, that's what I like to do. That's why I was asking you, like, man, if I can avoid that supplement, what can I eat to get that supplement? Because I do Jiujitsu, bro. I have mad joint problems. So anytime I can just get stuff the normal way, I want to do that. Like, in Jiujitsu, I'm literally incubating the germs of my
Yeah.
close friend group here because we're dripping sweat into each other's eyes like every day. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So that's just the way I look at it. I don't feel like I need vaccines if I can just be healthy.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's how I feel about it, man.
Yeah. So
And I don't and like you said too, like the vaccine is for some people.
yes, for sure.
I don't feel like I need it.
Yeah, exactly. So in to answer this question specifically, especially because free flu shots. So when I got hired by St. Luke's, I got the seasonal flu shot. I am not anti-vaxxer in that general sense. I have almost every single vaccine that is recommended. What I don't like about the current vaccine with the COVID vaccine, the two main ones are an mRNA vaccine, and then you have the Johnson & Johnson. So the mRNA vaccine has been studied since the late 80s, but it's never actually been applied and given to the general public. They were still working on finishing their last clinical trials on it, but we are currently the last clinical trial because they did not actually do their final trial. They decided to use the emergency use exemption and push it out to the public. With that being said, even with that mRNA having the decades of current research on it, the vaccine itself is incredibly new. I don't want to take a vaccine that is still under a year old of being given out to the public. All those seasonal flu shots, you look at like chickenpox, polio, all those measles, mumps, all that stuff, they've been around for decades, have been given to the general public. The same exact vaccine. Now, seasonal flu will change because they're going to be doing the strain of flu that they believe will be most likely to occur that year. Some years are more effective than others. But those have been studied for decades and have been given to the general population for decades. So they've been shown to be generally very safe and effective. This vaccine has not been around for even more than a year, given to the general public. Like I said earlier, I'm personally at the age and the fitness level that it's more effective for me to not even have COVID, but to potentially get it and have a reaction to it of getting the actual virus itself than taking the current COVID vaccines that we have. So I wanted to take that chance. Now I have antibodies to it because, like I said, I literally had COVID 3 weeks ago. Proven with a positive PCR test and 2 antigen tests that I took at home. So I'm pretty confident I had it. And additionally, the other reason I would have rather left my job, and I kind of hinted at it, is I believe a vaccine mandate is not the way to go about trying to get the general population to take the vaccine. You have to persuade, not force.
Yeah.
And the mandate, in my opinion, is government overstepping their boundaries. There's no actual governmental mandate, but they're creating fines on private companies if they don't have certain mandates at that point. And they're pushing for private companies to create their own mandate. They're going, okay, well now we are going to say you can't work here if you don't have this vaccine at this point in time. I think that is very much overstepping their boundaries. I think that being in the medical field, you're getting into HIPAA violations. Because now I was let go. Everyone that I worked with now knows I'm not vaccinated for that reason. That's a HIPAA violation right there. Just in of itself, that's got to be a HIPAA violation. Yeah. I think it's a violation of the Nuremberg Code. I had made a post.
Can you tell me about that? What is the Nuremberg Code?
So the Nuremberg Code was created after World War II with Nazi Germany. It was mainly done for medical experiments done on not just the Jewish population, but on other on other people that they had imprisoned. Mm-hmm. But they would do horrendous things to people.
I read
experiment
studies
on them.
I read studies
in the first code of it, it talks about you're not allowed to force. This is why I used that terminology in my letter to St. Luke's in my email, saying this about force or coercion, having to take a medical treatment, and I would consider the vaccine as a form of a medical treatment. You're getting a drug injected into you. I can refuse it, but the second it goes into my body, I can never take it out of me. So once when that happens, that's it. And by a company telling you, okay, this wasn't a necessity until just now, it's a medical treatment that's still, besides the Pfizer BioNTech, which is now the only one that's FDA approved, the other two are not. They're still the medical use exemptions. You're telling me that I have to take potentially a medical treatment that's not even FDA approved at the moment.
Yeah, that's the kind
and
of
with that,
that's the thing that kind of
and you're
scared
telling
me
me
a
I
little
have
bit
to do
about
that,
it too.
otherwise my employment status is now no longer valid.
Yeah.
That to me is coercion.
Yeah.
And that exact terminology is referenced in the first Nuremberg Code. And I had made a post on Instagram about this. I generally try and stay out of politics. But when you get let go from your profession, you know, I might make a post or two about it. I tried to stay very professional about it as well. Most of it was very, very positive, being like, you know, thanks for standing up for what you believe in. Someone would be like, you know, I took the vaccine, but I don't like the mandate as well. I had one person, I've had a few people talk to me as well about thinking, oh, well, I don't believe this is a violation of the Nuremberg Code. I don't think that, we're not at that level. I go, well, the Nuremberg Code was created to avoid us getting to a certain point of these experimental treatments or just overall experiments on people. It's to avoid getting to that level. We may not fully be there of a government or something, some agency, organization actively fully forcing without any ability to say no, because I was able to say no, but I lost my job because of that, of trying to retain my own medical autonomy. And that's coercion in my opinion. And those are created, that Nuremberg Code was created, and specifically the first one, to avoid getting to that point of having absolutely no choice, even with repercussions. I had a choice, but with repercussions to my choice. And I think it's to avoid getting to that point. And we are now violating that rule, that law. It's a worldwide code, a law, saying you're not allowed to do this because it will eventually lead to then having no ability to say no. And I think we're at that point where we have the coercion and the force of private companies and the government kind of pressuring those private companies to create this coercion onto their employees to get it. There's many stories that I've seen, again, trying to stay anecdotal, of people not wanting to get the vaccine, but feeling that they were stuck between a rock and a hard place, so they got it, and then they had a terrible adverse reaction. I could bring up Project Veritas and their first video that they released about the Pfizer vaccine, when the one woman who worked for Pfizer in a hospital said that one of her fellow employees didn't want to get it, but she felt forced and coerced. She took it, and then within a few days was dead. There have been
Let me ask you
players
this. Like,
well.
and maybe you can't answer this because you're not like a doctor,
Yeah.
right? A person who died from getting the vaccine, would they have died from the virus as well because they were just so susceptible to the strain? You know what I mean?
Maybe. I mean, but that's a question that may never be answered because they're dead, and you would have to, again, I'm not, like you said, I'm not a doctor. This may be getting much further in to figure that out, but it's something with autopsy. You may want to take some samples of the blood to see maybe they have something that would be triggered by the spike protein, or they have multiple comorbidities that, had they gotten COVID itself, would have had a high likelihood of having a really adverse reaction to it, being in serious condition, or potentially died. I think we could look at those and go, what is the likelihood that these people would have potentially died from COVID, or at least been in the ICU with it? I think it's like the average person who was in the ICU had 2.6 comorbidities of some form. So you could look at maybe ranking this person who who'd say died from the vaccine or of some sort would have also died from COVID because of these likelihood, like what's a
Yeah.
percentage of,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
maybe
yeah.
classify that. That's something to look at, like a study to do, or maybe look at meta-analyses of COVID vaccines and those who had COVID and comorbidities. Look at a meta-analysis. So like basically it's a study looking at statistics of multiple other studies done. You just
Yeah.
rank it all into one study. That might be a question for that. So it's hard to tell in that sense. But you never know with a vaccine, especially something so new, what's exactly in it. They have listed what's in it, but is there something more that's in it that's not being told? And that's a question that I'm obviously not going to have an answer to. I can ask. That's getting more conspiracy theory. But I think it's a fair question to ask when reports are coming out that the average the VAERS reporting, the vaccine adverse reaction system, on average, only about 10% of actual adverse reactions to regular vaccines are reported, because those who have to report it are generally family members or the person themselves, if they're still alive, if they just had like some mild form of adverse reaction, or the doctor. What I've seen a report come out, it could be wrong, but I've seen a report come out that only about 1% of COVID vaccine adverse reactions are reported, because it has to be done by, or one of the systems, it may not be VAERS itself, but there's another system specifically meant for the actual physicians and doctors to do it themselves, are not being reported because, again, this could be very anecdotal, more so hearsay. They're being told by their healthcare system not to report them, otherwise they themselves are going to become investigated. So they're not wanting to report it because it could cause issues to the physician themselves down the road for them. So there's a lot of
man,
things
that bureaucratic
that could be into
stuff
it.
is so scary
Yeah,
to
this
me
is where
too,
politics
man.
should be really staying out of medicine.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that to a certain extent there has to be, but there's way too much politics in certain things in life. That's why I'm on this side of stay out of my life and I'll stay out of yours.
Yeah.
In terms of policies being done, don't tell me what to do. As long as it's reasonable, don't tell me what to do.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to tell you what to do.
I feel like, let me ask you this. So this is like, maybe I'll play like some devil's advocate here. Like, so I personally am of the belief that like people should be free to do whatever they want as long as they're not harming or like negatively affecting other people.
Mm-hmm.
Is not getting the vaccine that?
I mean, so you can still spread it if you're vaccinated just as easily as if you're not vaccinated. You can still get COVID if you're vaccinated.
That is true, but how do you figure that you spread it just as easily?
So it's in your airway. So if you can still get COVID, as well
I
as
know someone who was vaccinated that got COVID.
So you can still get COVID, and if it's in your airway, are you gonna be breathing in through your lungs and breathing out? So let's do it this way. We're in your bus right now.
Yeah.
Say you have COVID,
Uh-oh.
and all your windows are up, and I don't have COVID, and I'm not vaccinated, but you have COVID. Whether you're vaccinated or not doesn't really matter. Say you have COVID, and you're breathing, and we're having this long conversation that right now we're probably going on almost 2 hours or something of the sort. This would be an extended period of time. We're in closer contact. We've had a long period of time together. More than likely, I've now breathed in some form of COVID particles.
Yeah.
That if it's a high enough volume of it, I could then start to become symptomatic. It could not overthrow, but overempower my immune system. My immune system couldn't keep up with it, and now I become sick with it and symptomatic. I wouldn't have a strong enough immune system if I had a large viral load taken in. It could be overpowering. It'd be like having 100 troops versus 1,000 troops. More than likely, the 1,000 troops are going to overpower the 100 troops. So you can still. So now you have that, right? You don't have to have a huge viral load in order to transmit it to other people. So say you are vaccinated, and a lower likelihood of getting it, though. You do have a lower likelihood of getting it, or at least becoming symptomatic of it. But say you're talking with someone who has it at the current time being, and you're breathing it in because you're having a long conversation with them, right? So now you have COVID in you, at that time, and then you walk over to someone else who doesn't have COVID and who's not vaccinated, and you start talking with them for a long period of time, well, you still have a certain amount of viral load. You may not become symptomatic with it because you're vaccinated, and you have a lower chance of becoming symptomatic and actually sick with it. But you can still have it in your system at that time, and now you're breathing it onto someone else who's not vaccinated, and now they may become symptomatic with it too. So that's how you can still spread it.
Man, it looks like the comment section's going
starting
crazy.
to blow up here.
Yeah, that's
you
all
know,
good.
You get into a touchy subject. I saw something about cigars are FDA approved. Let's see what that one says.
Let me see. Yeah.
So they can say anything they want. Nuremberg Code, however you spell it out. Not many know about it. Well, first off, referencing this cigs, you can either be cigars or cigarettes, or FDA approved probably cigarettes. Yeah. If people are stupid enough to still take cigarettes and thinking that FDA is approved is good, then I just don't really know what to tell you at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, right there is a really good example that decades ago, all it took to get FDA approval was a little bit of money. And right now with the COVID vaccine, the pharmaceutical companies made $50 billion, and with the extra booster shot, it can ramp it up to $65 billion just this year. So you're telling me that throw a little money towards some FDA politician's way can get them FDA approved? I think there's your answer. If cigarettes can be approved,
man, that's a game changer. That comment's a game changer because it makes me think. First of all, like after working in corporate and working for the government, it really, once you see it from the inside, how a lot of these things work, it just really makes you trust systems less.
Yeah.
Big systems are really, really difficult to do well.
Yes.
And
especially without corruption in them, people just getting a little bit of money goes a long way for a lot of people.
It's insane, man. So that's why the less things I touch, honestly, the better, man.
Yeah.
I live in a school bus, dude. I'm off the grid if everything works out for me, you know. That's my goal in life right now. Just how effectively can I live off the grid?
Oh wait, real quick question for you then. The little catch-22.
Yeah, sure.
So you could technically live off the grid with a Tesla if you had high enough solar powers to power it. You would never need to go rely on a gas station again. But there's a lot of technology in a Tesla. Would you do it?
Okay, so here's the thing. I am going to destroy this.
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay, so two things. There is not too much technology in a Tesla. In fact, I would argue 100 times that an engine is way more complex than a motor.
Yep.
And a motor is a component that you apply electricity to it and it forces things to move.
Yep.
An engine has moving machined parts that need to be very, very precise in the way that they function and require lubricants and all these other things. I would trust a child with a remote control car. But you wouldn't trust a child with an engine-powered vehicle, you know what I mean? So here's what I think. I think the fact that Tesla does not allow you to work on your own vehicle with those things in mind, and that it's very anti-right to repair, because we can go down that rabbit hole super hardcore. I don't want that.
Yeah.
I prefer this unwieldy bus that I can customize to infinity and beyond. You know, I can throw the solar panels on the roof. We are currently filming this podcast with the power of the sun and a little bit of diesel fuel on the way here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I would like an electric vehicle one day. I would love for my bus to be entirely like solar powered. That would be super cool. I don't want a Tesla because you aren't allowed to fix a Tesla when you own it.
Okay, let's say if you can.
If I can?
I'm thinking more of the computer technology within it.
I'm an IT guy.
Okay.
I'll take that all day as long as Tesla will let me get into it.
Okay.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Will you change the computer system in it to be let's say like an open chain?
Like open source kind of?
Yeah,
open source software?
For some reason I was thinking blockchain, but like an open source.
Open source. So if you could have a Tesla with some open source like capabilities, I would 100% do that.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Am I the only one with this vehicle?
Are you the only one with it?
Or do a lot of people have these open source compatible Teslas?
Can be whatever you want, man.
Okay, it's got to be a lot of people because now we can all work together to make
Okay.
this the best thing for that
I was
humanity
just
can
thinking
have.
in terms of like a bug out shit.
Oh, for bug out shit specifically?
So that way you don't need to have like any form of reliance on other, on some, like you don't need a gas station.
Yeah,
you could have.
shit's gonna break eventually in
Yeah.
any capacity. So
I wasn't thinking like a long-term solution.
Yeah.
Shit hits the fan.
shit hits the
you're
fan.
gonna
I
go
gotta get
back-
out of there for a month, kind of thing.
Yeah, but then that you could still power it up if you need to because of solar panels either on your bus or in like a little house that you could hook up.
Okay, so optimally for like a bug out situation, I think a cool solution for that would be you drive the bus to where you need to be. Right, we got to go into the mountains.
Yep.
Now we have the solar panels on this, and we can find some decent cover like in the trees, but we still have enough solar coming in, assuming it's not nuclear winter and we're clouded over, right?
Yeah.
Then you have a electric bicycle or like a motorcycle.
Yeah.
That's the move.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be the move.
Yeah. I would
Um,
agree. Definitely, an electric vehicle would be the way to go. I was in the professional version of RC cars when I was younger.
Oh, really?
And,
That's cool.
I went from my first one was a nitro, so like the gas form of an engine.
Oh, yeah, they
type
do have RC cars that are
nitro.
engine powered.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was too difficult for me at the moment because I got into it when I was like 12. No one helped me whatsoever. I just got into it myself, knowing nothing. And then I went from that to an electric, and I completely built mine up from the ground up. Literally screw by screw, built it together.
Yeah.
And then had to learn everything about electric motors, ESCs, the transmitters and receivers, servos, all that stuff. I had
Yeah.
to learn by myself, but I got really good at it. I got good at soldering, all that stuff.
Yeah,
configuring,
nice.
Yeah, the gear ratios and stuff for like pinion
What-
gear.
what
and
age
spur
were you?
gears. I was like, I got heavily into that when I was like 13, 14.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
I was in my late teens when I started wanting the solder stuff. The military kind of helped me with that because
Yeah.
I went to when I was in the military. I was a
I actually just did another build in the end of the winter this past year.
what did
Yeah,
you make?
It's kind of the same thing. My father-in-law got me. He found a buddy who had like 2 used nitro RC cars.
Nice.
I kept one nitro. I just cleaned it up. Sam drove it around a little bit.
Oh, that's
fucked
cool.
it up.
Ah,
But then I sold
dick.
it. But then I had a monster truck of another one, an older one. And I took the engine out, just sold those pieces as is, just to recoup a little bit of cost, and then learn how to convert it into an electric. Took a lot of tinkering, how to mount the motor where the nitro engine was supposed to be.
What was it powered by?
LiPo batteries.
18650 cells.
3 cell, so 11.1 volt.
Nice.
Yeah, but I did a what is
yeah.
it? Is it a series connection when you double the voltage?
Yeah, when you're
I'm sorry,
stacking
not
the
3
voltage.
cell. I did two cells that converted it to a 4 cell. I think it was series connection.
So
Not
if
a
you're
parallel, because parallel does double the milliamps in terms of longevity.
amperage is when you. I have my solar panels in an interesting configuration. I won't get into it right now. But yeah, I have them in both series and parallel. Parallel stacks the amperage. Series stacks the voltage.
I did the series because I doubled the voltage to make it more powerful.
Yeah,
So I
but
did
it doesn't
that.
last as long.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah. So like you have to have the same exact battery though. So the same discharge rate, so the C rating, the same milliamperage rating. Ideally the same milliamperage rating.
Yeah.
And then I would have the LiPo battery charger that would balance them as well.
Was it
So
the IMAX B6? Dude, I
fucking
have
right.
everything that you're talking about.
man, you
Let's
got
not
it.
nerd out on this right now because this is a rabbit hole.
Yeah, I'm
It's
sure
like
you
no
weren't
one cares about this.
Yeah, I'm sure you weren't expecting this from me.
Yeah, I love it. I'm
Yeah.
really like we
Yeah.
just become best friends.
Yeah.
But yo, all right, man. We went down some pretty crazy rabbit holes. Let's talk a little bit about the Wissinger wood shop, man.
Okay. Yeah.
So tell me what made you decide you wanted to be a carpenter, and what are some projects that you've taken on that were really cool?
So I just do this more like a little general hobby fun stuff. I just decided to make like a little logo and make a little Instagram with it. My brother's actually the contractor carpenter. I just do like more fun, simple woodworking type stuff. I went to Garden Spot High School in Eastern Lancaster, so right kind of around where the Amish and Mennonite are. So of course we had wood shop, as with every high school in America, but ours
Yeah.
kind of was a little
On
cooler.
steroids,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
That's
I
sick.
still have the nightstand in my bedroom of the one that I made in there. And at some point, I like working with my hands. And before I did the project again this past year with the RC car, I wanted to make some stuff. I wanted to make cornhole boards. I wanted to make. I love the idea of the wood burnt American flags.
Yeah, I've seen those.
Yeah.
You did one for Sam as
Yeah.
well. It's pretty neat.
So I ended up making them all for all of like my groomsmen and everyone in my wedding party. So I did those, but didn't have all the tools, and eventually said, "Screw it! I want to start making more stuff." So you got to invest a little bit. I got some more tools, and that was at the end, like around this time actually, around October of last year in 2020. And since then, I primarily make a lot of like custom cornhole boards. I love the idea of like the design, because I also have a Cricut vinyl cutter, and you can
Nice.
stencil cut everything. I have the design on my computer, the design software, so I can design almost anything and cut it out and then stencil it and then make. So I have a lot of really cool cornhole board designs that I've made. I've made a lot of the wood burnt American flags. I have made 2 different dining room tables and one with the matching benches. Those took a lot of work, were really cool, but took a lot of work. I actually learned a few different ways, especially to put like the bread, what are they called? Breadboards on the end of a table. So
Yeah.
you have like the planks running this way, and then the breadboard goes that way. How to actually properly attach them to it, so it helps to prevent the whole table from warping as well. It can actually act to do that. And then how to properly tap them in with like a tongue and groove form of, I guess it's like a form of like a tongue and groove form of way of doing it. And so it's a lot of fun. I've done that. I've made some like hidden lockable gun cases with the American flag, so like a wall mounted.
You see them all over Pinterest and Instagram.
Yeah, but I make them. A lot of people do them with the foam inserts into that you can put the gun into. I don't like that. I like the pegboard, because then you can rearrange it however you want. And I did one with foam, and it was cool, but it was a lot of effort to cut out and expensive. The foam itself was like $40 or $50.
Dude, I have mad foam.
Yeah.
Let me give you
well, you
some
need a
before
very
you go.
specific type of
Dude,
foam.
this is like server packing foam.
Okay,
It's what
it
you
might
want.
be that.
I got you.
But I had this huge like block of it.
I have too much of it,
Okay.
dude.
Well,
I
so
need to
that's
get
what
rid
I
of
used
it.
initially, and then the next few ones that I made, I used pegboards. So you could go to Lowe's and buy them for like $10 for the board itself. But that was so much.
And then you have those like little metal pins that like fall in place.
So much easier to do. First off, to make, it was cheaper to make, and way more versatile, because whoever gets it, they can then configure it to whatever guns they have or like I put magazines in them too, like loaded mags with guns and shit. So I put my AR in it with multiple different other firearms in there too, with loaded mags and stuff. Just more of like staging it. I actually don't even have one myself. I've just built them for people. But
it's nice to have the AR to know.
Exactly.
This is how it's probably gonna work.
Exactly. But they have hidden cabinet locks, like child safety locks, but that are magnetic. So you just pull a little magnet over it, and it kind of pulls a little thing, and then it can open up. And they're on gas struts, so they pop up. I've done some other weird stuff. I make stovetop covers, which are also called noodle boards. That's the thing that you saw on there. It's got the handle that you put on top of a stove.
Oh yeah.
And then it basically turns into additional counter space. And then with like the vinyl Cricut cutter, I made this, so like I can make a lot of clothing, a lot of designs if I want. You saw downstairs when I showed you the little tour, the mini wood burnt American flags I'm starting to make.
Oh, dude, I just got a crazy idea. I'm gonna have to talk to you about it after this.
Okay.
Though.
But then I made those commemorative paddles for the Navy. I've done some of them.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I've done. I know I'm gonna be missing some things, but like primarily the things that I do make are the cornhole boards and the wood burnt American flags. Those are also the ones I like the most.
I just gotta write this down so I don't forget to talk to you about this.
But I've done a lot. Like I said, like I've built the biggest table I built was a 40-inch by 6 foot, which I'm not sure if you're aware. That's a big table. 40 inches wide is a large table. And then I built the benches that go along with it. So, I mean, like, and I built a lot of the furniture in my house. The TV stand with a sliding barn door. It's a corner TV stand. My coffee table with a pop-up table that has a compartment on the
Oh,
inside.
that's
I built
cool. Yeah.
the entryway table. I built my dining room table. I built the. You saw the floating shelf cabinets, or the floating shelves that I have in my kitchen, as well as the countertops I made. The bathroom vanity I made. I have like a whole closet system out of metal pipe and wood I made in our room. I'm not sure if you noticed, but I have a Murphy's bed in my guest bedroom.
I did not
Yeah,
notice
so
a
do you know what a Murphy's
Murphy.
bed is?
Yeah, it's a
Yeah, it
fold
pops
up,
down.
yeah.
I made that for us too.
Oh,
So I've
sick,
done a
dude.
lot of stuff.
I've seen people do those in the buses, and I just think it's like, I don't know. It's dumb.
A Murphy's bed in a bus.
Yeah.
I guess it'd have to be like on its side to pop down then.
Yeah.
I think that would be cool. I mean, it's definitely a way to save some space. You're definitely blocking some windows when it's up. I think that's a cool idea, though. It kind of would be difficult to mount it properly, though, because your bus wall isn't all like that wide.
Yeah.
Or I should say, like, yeah, just not all that wide for something to really. You'd have to almost put. You'd almost have to bolt through from the outside into the actual sprue parts coming through to then mount something to that.
Yeah.
To hold it
Well, you
steady.
have like you see wood here,
Yeah.
but that lip there is where like the seats are mounted normally.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like you can kind of see it over there. It's just like a big metal lip.
Oh yeah.
That thing's pretty rigid, so for mounting purposes, that's the way to go. But yeah, that's cool. But yeah, man.
Was about to wreck my plant-based steak with some Applebee's.
Yeah.
Earlier. That's funny.
That's funny. So, yo, let's talk a little bit about like the projects that you've accomplished. Like, I know you were talking about doing something for like a foundation with the flags and stuff.
Oh yeah. So, when the whole shit hit the fan with Afghanistan,
Yeah.
with the pullout, Michaela and I decided to do at least something, put money where our mouth is, not just complain about it. At least how we believe the handling of it was, in our own opinion. So, because I have the wood shop, we decided that Michaela will fund the material cost, and I'll donate then the time to do it. And then that way, 100% of the proceeds will go towards some of these organizations. So we had a raffle for a large flag. Could be customized because we can do custom unions. I showed you can do the challenge coin racks on them too.
Yeah, that was super cool.
So the person who won it, it was a Marine, so he'll get a Marine logo on the union.
Where did you do the raffle?
We just did it online.
Like on like Instagram or
we
something?
promoted on Instagram, yeah.
Yeah.
My Wissinger's Woodshop Instagram, my personal Instagram, and Michaela's Instagram. I think we threw it up on Facebook too, and then just told people about it. I mean, it's not like we have a huge outreach at the moment. I know my Instagram has like around 5,000 followers. Just
Yeah,
'cause of
you're
the sport
lifting
that
one,
I'm
yeah.
in. So we had some people reach out and put some money in for the raffle. So that one, I forget if we had decided. I know Michaela just sent the money in. So 100% of the proceeds of the raffle, it was either going to go to Save Our Allies Fund or it was Wounded Warrior Project. It was one of those two. And then the other one, whichever one it was, then the 100% of the proceeds of my mini American flags, the 18-inch long ones, because a regular wood-burnt American flag is 36 inches long.
Yeah.
So then the mini ones is 18 inches long. Technically, it's a quarter of the size because it's also half the height as well.
Yeah.
So we were selling those for $50 a piece, which, in all honesty, all the prices that I do for the flags and the mini flags are all way under what I've seen other people sell them for. I don't do it for a huge profit. I do it because it's a fun hobby, and I mean you got to make a little bit of a profit off of it.
Yeah.
But I do it mainly for fun. So they were $50. So anyone who bought one of the mini ones, all that money would go towards, again, one of those funds. I forget which one we had decided. It was going to be the flags go to one, and then the raffle goes to the other. So we did Save Our Allies and then the Wounded Warrior Project. We just did it for the month of September, so we're out of that now. But I'm always down for other ways to definitely donate and give some money to a cause that we think is reasonable and that will actually give the money to, the real reason why they're doing the cause. So
yeah, 100%, man.
I felt like those two were relatively good. It was either that. We were also thinking about the Nazarene project that I think Glenbeck. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I don't know that one.
They were also helping out to go take people out of Afghanistan too.
Yeah.
So, we just decided why complain about it. We saw enough people complaining online about how they took
Yeah.
Afghanistan. I
Don't
think
talk
the
about it,
majority
be
of
about it, man.
Yeah,
100%.
exactly. Don't. Yeah. So we decided to take action. I mean, it's something small. I think we raised. I know for the flag we raised the large one. We raised like $145. I think the small ones we raised. It was either 150 or 200. I'd have to check with Michaela. She's the one who did the numbers on that one. I just build them, so she just tells me what I have to do.
Yeah, that's
So,
cool. Yeah, that's awesome though. I'm actually with my film team. We're doing Riverfront Fights is coming up on the 24th of October here, and they are doing a promotion for the We Defy Foundation, which is like a jiu-jitsu veterans thing. So when I found out about that, I was like, dude, like whatever prices like we can knock down off our thing to do this. Like I wanted to do it. I was like, dude, I don't even want to cut. Like I'll do whatever. But I wanted to get some merch for that, and that's what I kind of want to talk to you about. If we can figure something out. Like we'll throw some money at you. You can bring it back. But that would be a really cool idea. Yeah, we'll talk about that offline. I'm excited because just knowing that you're into that, it's really cool. Just gotta ask people the right questions. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
That's super cool. Well, dude, like we're definitely like running the clock here, and I don't want to like steal any more of your time if I don't need to. So I have like one last question, and then I'll kind of like give you the open forum here for whatever you want. Can you tell me like whether it was like lifting, whether it was like a woodworking project, what is your proudest accomplishment?
Marrying my wife.
All right, good answer.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but in all honesty, yeah, marrying my wife.
That's awesome.
We put together. I think we have a great life right now.
You have some great dogs, that's for sure.
We have some. Well, Honey was a little. Yeah. She was a little not about you at the moment.
Yeah, that's
she's a little nervous wreck. She is.
Yeah.
But I mean, we have a house together. We got married. I love her family. She loves my family. We get along incredibly well. I can't have any complaints about anything with that. Like I said, we have a house that we both purchased together when we were both 22. It's nothing crazy. You know, it's all of 800 square foot, 2-bedroom, 1-bath, but it's got an attached garage. We both turned into a gym because she loves to lift too. She lets me mess up the basement with sawdust. And we just pair tremendously well together. So, yeah, that's greatest accomplishment so far is not anything physically that I've done, but what me and her have been able to accomplish together.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, you have any shout-outs or anything? How can people get in touch if they want some woodworking projects from you?
Yeah, so woodworking projects, just DM me on my Instagram, just Wissinger's Woodshop, just as simple as that.
And it's down at the bottom.
Yeah, it should be there.
They can see it.
If you want to give me a follow on my athlete profile, it's Jordan_Wissinger. Pretty simple as well.
And if they're watching the video, they'll be able to see that under you.
Yeah. And then, I mean, I just started the realtor page. I think it's like jordanw.realtor. I don't know. I just started it. So, you know, Michaela, she has her own Instagram page, and she does phenomenally well with it. She always is posting good content. I got to take a page out of her book because I'm not as great about posting as she is.
Yeah.
But the main two would be, if you want to follow the woodshop, the Wissinger's Woodshop. If you want to follow my personal page, Jordan_Wissinger on Instagram. Those would be the two easiest ways to get out.
Do you have a website for the woodshop?
I did, and I wasn't getting like any traffic through it. All my contacts and building would just be through the Instagram. I just
so
screwed it. I was spending like $300 a year to have the domain and to keep it up, to be able to take
of course.
Payments. It had to be like a business one. So I'm like, it's not worth it at the moment.
What were you using? Square?
I was just using Wix.
Oh, Wix, okay.
Yeah, so, but I mean, maybe if I get a lot of traffic, I might start doing it. Again, I think it's saved. Like, I could just pop it back up right now if I wanted to. But, yeah, I just didn't feel like paying for it again. If most of my traffic, all of my traffic was coming through Instagram. Yeah. So, all of the orders. So,
yeah,
it was just easier doing it that way.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's weird how the world works.
It is, isn't it?
Well, dude, I'm honored, and I can't wait to get a training session in with you sometime soon, dude.
That's fun.
Peace, everybody.
Thanks, guys.